The following is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated.
And the Chiefs beat the Broncos. Wait a minute. They didn't do that Sunday. That and more on Total Football Talk. Well, welcome once again to Total Football Talk. That's right. Hard-hitting gridiron action, news, and fun the way you like it. I'm one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, a.k.a. the Mad Scientist and EP Extraordinaire, and I'm joined as always by the other co-host of this program, Mr. Commander's Gridiron Report, Mr. In or Out, the man who has the Willie Bucks himself, D. Willie, a.k.a. Drew Willingham. How you doing, my man?
Now that I'm not muted anymore here on StreamYard, I'm doing great. Great to see you guys out there in the chat. Looks like we got Ryan McCarthy, Wiesel Hefe, and Victor Locke in the house, all ready to rock and roll with us this morning. Let's go ahead and get this great show started.
Oh, I love how you say that, and I love how you're thinking. Yes, on a Halloween day, I think it is time for us to get the festivities going. Oh, before we do, let's go to the chat, shall we? Now, my mentality brother, Wiesel Hefe, has joined us. He says, look, I'm here so you can start the show. And then he says, wait a minute. How the heck I'm here for the hosts? I will touch on that in just a quick second. He says, I'm patiently waiting. Thank you, 50 Cent. Now, where's Eminem so we can actually have you jump on a rhyme? My bad.
In our defense, before we go to the next topic, this is something we didn't say at the beginning. We are actually streaming for the first time on a new platform, which we had to figure out and get all that stuff ready. You can check us out on PSF now, the app called Pro Sports Fans, as we are now streaming live through there. So I'll take the heat for that one. We had to take an extra second to get things going. Check us out on Pro Sports Fans.
Huh, well, they took care of what I had to say. V-Lock83, Victor Locke or Vicalock says, here we go again. Time for some TFT. That's right. That's right. That's Wise greets Vic. And he says, I was here first. We know you were here first. And then you have Ryan McCarthy of No Credentials Acquired Fame. He says, are you ready to talk some football? Well, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Oh, and he greets you, Wise does, calling you Mr. Disrespectful.
Here we go again. Hey, at least I had the first 6 weeks right.
V-Lock83 says, good morning, Wise Man and McCoffee. And Ryan says, happy Halloween or happy Reformation Day for those who observe. And Wise, my mentality brother, the Zen like stuck in my mind brother, the moderator and the point guard of the Bobby J Wise show, and the get your morning right guy in Wise in the AM talking mad petty trash. Excuses, he says.
No comment.
And Victor Locke, of course, doing what he normally does on Snowman in the Morning, says, good morning to the EP of all EPs and the big game hunter of Dumpster Pelicans, Cole Johnson and Sensei Drew Willingham. And I always call him the Ed McMahon of Snowman in the Morning. Victor Locke does a wonderful job as always. And hopefully we will do a wonderful job for you and to the PSF audience as well. Glad you're aboard. It is now time for the opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Break.
All right, let's get drive. So let's get to the Thursday night game, which was actually one of the more entertaining games, although it was a bore fest too. So it was the Bills hosting the Buccaneers, and Josh Allen with 31 went 31 of 40 for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. In a game that pretty much wasn't as close as the final score indicated, 24-18. I can have my partner go ham on Baker Mayfield and whatever shenanigans he did in the game, which was very little. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
I mean, when you look at it back and forth, at least the Buccaneers did keep things relatively close. I mean, they only lost the game by 6 points at the end, but when it comes to Bunker Stayfield, I mean, I can't really go but so ham on this guy today because, I mean, he did throw for 2 touchdowns, 237 yards, and didn't throw any interceptions.
Yeah.
So I at least have to give him some credit where credit is due, where, there's been plenty of times throughout the past 8 episodes where I've had my opportunities to light him up. But on this particular episode, I give him a break because he did throw for nearly 300 yards, had 2 touchdowns, and did a better job at protecting the ball than in games past. But what? Absolutely. I know you're surprised. I'm surprised too. But when it comes to this situation right here, the running game, like we talked about for many other teams, has to improve. When your leading runner has 9 carries for 39 yards, I mean, many teams we talked about in the past before, if you can't establish the run, you're not going to have many options late in the fourth quarter when you need to really mix things up and get that first down and move the chains to get that extra score to be up by a point or so, which would have been in this case here where you lost by 6. You got to get together, Tampa Bay, and that is the reason why you lost this game and have now fallen to 3-4.
Wise says, wow, I'm shocked. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I can already tell this is going to be that type of show. My brother. All right, let's get to the Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff games that took place. We will start with the beloved and the hated and the I really don't give a crap Cowboys. They defeated the Los Angeles Rams 43-20 at home at Jerry World. Dak Prescott decided to actually play a game. 25-31, 34 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. But the efficiency and the yardage is what I like the most about that. CeeDee Lamb caught 12 passes, 458 yards for 2 of those 4 touchdowns. Unfortunately for the Rams, Matthew Stafford left the game with a thumb injury, and we'll touch on some other injuries along the way. Your thoughts on this game, which, again, the score really does not indicate how close this game wasn't.
Yeah, this game, this was terrible on the accounts of just the overall production from the Rams. I mean, Matthew Stafford is one tough dude. Because, look at that shot that he took in the hand, and, he kept playing. And the man has battled through so many different injuries in the past and has stuck with it. And I have to give my credit to him when it comes to that. But in a situation like this, where you lose by 23 points, and, of course, you did leave the game late in the game with the injury, but you only had 162 passing yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. You probably had an extra 50 yards too many when you should have came out the game a little bit sooner. And the sad thing is there's no other options here for the Rams. I mean, it's either Matthew Stafford or bust because they don't have any other options at quarterback. You've now fallen to 3-5, just like other teams like the Commanders out there. The season's looking bleak if you don't make any changes right now. And besides Matthew Stafford, who else do you have? The answer is nobody. It's not looking good for the Rams as the Cowboys improved to 5-2. 1 game behind the Eagles in the NFC East. Anything is possible when it comes to those 2 teams. It's looking better for the Eagles as to what they're coming off of with that Super Bowl appearance. But with the Cowboys here, don't get into so much of the hype there, Cowboys fans. Just because you're 5-2 doesn't mean that I'm talking about you being that next team that represents the NFC in the Super Bowl. It is not happening. It is not happening this year. Do not get excited. It's bad for the Rams with the injury to Stafford. It's just as bad for the ego of the Cowboys to win the game the way they did because now they're thinking it's Super Bowl or bust at this point of the season.
So you must have seen Michael Irvin yesterday on Undisputed give a George Jefferson shuffle because it was as if he was thinking that the Cowboys won a playoff game the way he was reacting. Oh my gosh, yeah. And we'll touch later on the hype that's going to be ridiculous between the Cowboys and their next game and next opponent. Oh my gosh, I'm already getting a headache. Speaking of headaches, the Green Bay Packers on the not so frozen tundra of Lambeau Field got thoroughly dismantled and disappointed and beat down by the Vikings 24-10. The Vikings defense put down Jordan Love 4 times and picked him off once. Kirk Cousins, of course, was the star of the game, 23-31, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Unfortunately, he left the game with a debilitating injury. We'll talk about that later. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
Without going too far into it, it definitely was a sad situation to see that impactful hit that he took in that game. But hey, still led him to a victory, 24-10, as the Vikings take the game over the Packers. Vikings now improved to 4-4 after their rough start to the season. Definitely was a very rough start to the season. Green Bay Packers fall to 2-5. There wasn't much high hopes for this Packers team starting the season, except for the future with Jordan Love, okay? We didn't expect them to be at like 5-2 at this point in the season. So people that are getting upset about them being 2-5, it's growing pains. Jordan Love is a very, very young athlete at this point, still has a lot to learn, but he still completed 24-41 passes, 229 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. When I look at what Kirk Cousins did before, of course, getting knocked out, 23-31, 274 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's that type of production that helps lead a team to victory, like what happened in this game, and which is why the Minnesota Vikings have climbed back to a 500 record at 4-4.
Well, I'm glad they were able to actually do that. I feel for him, though, because the road's going to be really tough for him up ahead. But, I mean, they did start off rough, and now they pulled themselves into contention, which sounds real strange to say, but yeah. Halfway mark there, 4-4. Down south we go, and the Titans, they beat the Falcons 28-23. It's not necessarily the game or what took place. I'll touch on this later. Will Levis, 19-29, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns in his pro debut. Derrick Henry, who is considered to be on the chopping block, not chopping block, but the trading block. 22 carries, he got over 100 yards. DeAndre Hopkins got 4 receptions, 128 yards. 3 of those 4 touchdowns from Levis he caught. And the Titans defense, they did a number on the Falcons, namely Desmond Ridder, 6 sacks. They sacked him 5 times, but Taylor Heineke got there in the second half, 12-21, 175 yards and a touchdown. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
Tannehill time is over, as we shall say, when it comes to in Tennessee, which I know you're happy to see, as you are one that despises the Tennessee Titans. But in this game right here, this was a battle of the backups. As we also, like you had said, Taylor Heineke makes an appearance, and you have Will Levis. Will Levis did not look like a backup quarterback in this game, as he threw for 4 touchdowns against an Atlanta Falcons team that their defense is not full of dumpster pelicans. Okay, their offense has had questions throughout this season when it comes to Falcons. And that's mainly based on the play of their quarterback that they had, being Desmond Ridder, throughout the first 8 weeks of the season. Now, well, I would say 7 weeks of the season, because this was just week 8. But when we look at this situation right here, Taylor Heineke looked like he had dipped into that commercial that was paying him a little bit extra on those Heinekens and taking that energy out to the field as he took that into there and was 12-21 for 175 yards and a touchdown. Now, those numbers are not anything to get excited about, But
No.
when you look at the overall production of him going out there and not turning the ball over, there were no interceptions. He didn't actually make any big mistakes. He did what he was supposed to do, being the game manager out here for this team. But Will Levis did more than just being a game manager. He comes out there and throws for almost 250 yards on the completion status of 19 to 29, and he threw for 4 touchdowns.
And did
When
not
was
turn
the
ball over.
last time? Exactly. When was the last time? And you've watched football for quite some time too, my man. When was the last time you can think of a rookie coming off the bench and throwing for 4 touchdowns?
That's a rare feat. That's a rare feat. Because I've seen one come off and throw for 300 and 400 yards. I've seen them have a decent rate of completion percentage. But to have that and 4 touchdowns and not turn the ball over, I'll have to strain my brain to think of when I saw that the last time. Yeah, I'm impressed with Levis. I really am. Not impressed about another thing about the Titans. I will touch on that later. Yeah, good Lord. And before we go to the next game, V-Log says, look, I'm shocked I didn't get to see Playmaker this week. Shocked is the emoji, he says. Wyatt says, look, it could be worse. I mean, they could have Tommy DeVito playing. We'll touch on that when we touch on the Giants and Jets. V-Lock83 says, it's unfortunately a little late for that, Sensei. The Moronic Republic is already chirping, and Wise chimes in by saying they're already starting. And, of course, what they're alluding to is Ryan says it best. You know we're going to Super Bowl, right? You know we're going to Super Bowl. Yeah.
Come
That
on!
is already starting. I agree.
Come on!
I agree. And Wise talks about Taylor Heineke. He says, yes, he always does what he did in the second half of Sunday's game. I agree. And he does manage the game well. No question about that. Victor says, don't remind me, Ryan. and for those who want to know, our beloved V-Lock83, he is a Cowboys fan, but he's a reasonable one. And and it's just ridiculous what he has to go through too, in hearing the moronic Republic of Cowboys Nation as they go ham. Goodness gracious. But
we the boys.
Yes, we them boys. But congratulations to the Titans. They improved to 3-4. The Falcons dropped to 4-4. Oh my gosh. And looks like in Atlanta, Arthur Smith has a decision to make on his hands. Eek.
I say Arthur Smith is.
Before I go deeper into the Arthur Smith rabbit hole, let's go to Indianapolis, where the Colts were trying to bounce back from probably what they thought was a cheated victory turned defeat, 39-38 to the Browns last Sunday. Unfortunately, they could not do it with the Saints. They lost this game 38-27. Derek Carr was 19 of 27, 310 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did lose a fumble. Rashid Shaheed, no Chris Olave, no Michael Thomas. Well, never mind. 3 receptions, 53 yards and a touchdown for him. But the Colts offense, 164 yards rushing. Jonathan Taylor with 95 of them on only 12 carries. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
When I look at things overall, the Saints and the Colts, Derek Carr finally shows up, throws for 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, and leads the Saints to a decisive victory over the Colts. Now, the one person that I am very disappointed in, and you know where I'm going with this, Cole Johnson, I am disappointed in Uncle Rico, as Uncle Rico wets the bed once again and does it for the Colts.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yes, I know. He needs as much help as he possibly can get, because I'm expecting the man from the Water Boy to show up, Uncle Rico, and do his job out there in Indianapolis. But when he shows up and he only throws for 213 yards on 41 pass attempts, only completing 23 of them, 2 touchdowns and an interception. And we can't even get that upset over the interception because you still lost by 11 points. There's still difference makers in that score that have nothing to do with that interception. And I look at the fact that the man only threw for 213 yards. Jonathan Taylor gives you 95 yards on 12 carries, which is usually a recipe for success when you have a running back that's establishing that much yardage on the ground. But then when you look at the quarterback play, you look at the fact that your leading receiver had 72 receiving yards within those 213 passing yards. You had recipes for positive success. And what did you do, Uncle Rico? You let me down. I give you this name. I give you the hype. I get excited about you, Uncle Rico. And look at what you do to me now. You let me down with 213 yards. That's why the Colts lost this game.
Oh, this Uncle Rico crap again. Lord have mercy. Lord Mick, how you doing, brother? He says, good morning, Drew. Good morning, Cole. Good morning to you, sir. Wyatt says, Marvin, his cousin, who's a Cowboys fan, he's chirping away already. Talk about
good morning to those of you on PSF right now. We got Mitch, G, and Justin Maltz in the house.
What's up, Mitch? What's up, Mitch?
So,
What's up, Justin?
Thank you, guys. We'll acknowledge the Kirk Cousins comment, but not quite yet. We're not at that point in the show. I don't want to throw too much out there from what Cole was saying. But thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah. If you like A3 says, look, for the Moronic Republic to start, they have to have stopped first, which they haven't. It's bad. It's really bad. Yeah, I agree. Sig Diggy joined us from Scandinavia, Norway to be exact. He says, what in the Linda Blair's drawers and panties were in Rick James' possession? Is this nonsense? He says that he just had to be cold-blooded with that one. Yeah, understood, sir. Only you, Sig. Wyatt says, what did Uncle Rico do? He lost. That's what he did. Ryan says, Arthur Smith with a mustache looks like he's someone you just don't want your kids to approach in the playground.
No, that was great. That was great. that was great.
I'm trying not to say anything harmful or injurious about him because he was a Titans coach and I got a chance to see him as an offense coordinator here. And yeah, he had those vibes, but I tried not to think that. Oh gosh, Vic says good morning to Sick, and Sick returns the favor. Sick says happy Halloween, everybody. Mick says thank you for remembering me, Drew, about the show. And he passed on greetings to Ryan. Yes, Uncle Rico unfortunately didn't get the job done, and neither did the rest of the Colts. They dropped to 3-5. The Saints, they now improved to 4-3, and well, let's see if they can wrest away the NFC South from the Falcons and the Bucks. I would say that to worry about the Panthers, but not really. To South Beach or Coral Gables or wherever the heck the Dolphins play. It's South Florida. Well, they basically took a South Florida approach to the game they played against the Patriots. They beat them 31-17. Tua Tagovailoa 30 of 45. Too many times throwing the ball. I'm sorry. For 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick, and a lost fumble. Jalen Waddle, he was the high yard total guy for the Dolphins. 7 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. And Tyreek Hill, 8 receptions, the high receptions guy for 112 yards and a touchdown. And if you want to know, the Dolphins only just played their 8th game. Tyreek Hill now has 1,014 receiving yards. And why is that important? It's important because the mark for most receiving yards of the season is Calvin Johnson, Megatron, yes, with 1,964. And he did that in 16 games. If Tyreek Hill stays on that pace, he will break that mark without the asterisk because he will go over 2,000 yards in doing so. Your thoughts, sir?
With all of that said, especially about Tyreek Hill, and he still wasn't the leading receiver in this game. No. As Jalen Waddle was the leading receiver in this game with 7 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown, averaging 17.3 per reception. Looking at those numbers in comparison to Tyreek Hill, 8 of 112, averaging 14 yards per reception for a touchdown. Both of these receivers went video game in this game right here. But when you look at Tyreek Hill, he's been video game all season long, and it's been something very special to watch from afar if you are not a fan of this Dolphins team. But over the years, even when the Dolphins have been at their worst since the turn of the century in 2000, the Dolphins are the kryptonite to the Patriots. Because no matter how good of a year the Patriots are having, of course, except for their year where they went almost undefeated by the time they got to the Super Bowl and then lost. Okay. That year, even that year when they lost to the Patriots, the game was still close. So, or the games, because they play each other twice in a season. So when you look at it right here, this Dolphins team is a very special team to watch. And when you look at what happened to the Chiefs this past Sunday, anything's possible in the NFL for one, but also in the AFC. We could potentially see the Dolphins make it to the Super Bowl this year, and it could be based on this electrifying offense that what we've seen throughout the course of the year. But the one thing that's suspect, as we've seen that's been exposed, is that defense. And in a game where you're playing the Patriots and you're not expecting much out of them, especially when you have the quarterback known as Mac and Cheese, you still gave up 17 points to Mac and Cheese in this game, to where the Patriots were hanging tight in there for quite some time. As Mac and Cheese threw for 2 touchdowns, had 1 interception, but the lone fact that he did not do positively in this game was he threw for 161 yards in this game. It was an absolute atrocious thing to watch. If you are the Patriots, you need to be shopping for a quarterback at some point between now and the start of next season, whether it's in the draft, whether it's through free agency, which I don't know that many great high-caliber quarterbacks are going to be available in the offseason. It's not looking good. As you lost this game 31-17, Stevenson on the Patriots side could only muster 39 rushing yards on 10 carries. The running game is suspect. Your leading receiver was Kendrick Bourne, who had 3 receptions at 36 yards. Patriots are not doing well whatsoever. Just as we were talking about the fact that Bill Belichick might have gotten the rejuvenation and potentially saved his job recently, it's going backwards again and real fast as the Patriots now fall to 2-6, and the Dolphins have now improved to 6-2. It's looking great for the Dolphins. They're now what the Patriots used to look like in that division, as things have flipped and flipped real hard on a 180, is now the Dolphins are running away with that division.
Well, this game, as a result, was, in the words of Hawk from the Road Warriors, if you were the Dolphins, you would say, "It's good for us and bad for you." Shout out to you, Hawk. Rest in peace, brother.
Yeah.
Now it's time to talk about the Jets and the Giants. All right. Let's get the particulars out the way. The Jets won the game in overtime, 13-10 over the Giants. Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson actually was a star of this one. 7 receptions, 100 yards. Saquon Barkley probably comes in the close second, 36 carries, 128 yards. Both defenses ended up having 4 sacks on the other's quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, 17-36, 240 yards, a touchdown, and not 1 but 2 lost fumbles. And the Giants offense, they only managed -9 passing yards, with the aforementioned Tony DeVito. This is probably the stat of all stats. Tony DeVito, 2 of 7 for -1 yard. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
That's right, Cole. He didn't even deserve to get his name called correctly. We're calling him Tony DeVito up here because he played that terrible. He does not deserve to be called Tommy. I'm calling him Tony too because he had 2 passes on 7 attempts that were completed for -1 yard. Yeah. And he did so bad that their leading quarterback play came from Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
4 passes on 7 attempts. And how many did he have? 8 completed passing yards on those 4 attempts. Meaning that between the 2 quarterbacks here, they went 6 of 14 for 7 yards. That's your combined quarterback play. That is absolutely atrocious. And you are not going to get anywhere when you play that type of play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we look at that as LA Knight pops up on the screen saying, yeah, do I think that this Giants team is going to improve on where they're at now?
Hell to the no. To the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
You may say that it's disrespectful that I predicted this team to go 1 and mother-fathering 7. But when you look at what they did in the first 6 weeks of the season, they went 1 and 5. I was pretty close. And yes, they beat the Commanders recently. But what have they done since then? You lost to the Jets. And Zach Wilson, who threw for 240 yards and a touchdown, 17 of 36, basically completing just over 50% of his passes. Well, no, actually under 50% of his passes.
Yes,
and he was the leading rusher for 4 carries and 25 yards. And that was who led the Jets to victory? No. It was a battle of special teams towards the end. As you look at what Greg Zuerlein did for the Jets, and then you look at what the old former Commanders kicker from back in the day, former Panthers kicker, Graham Gano as well, who went 1 of 3 with his longest field goal being a 31-yard dink and dunk chip shot. So I cannot get excited about this game. This game was probably one of the worst games of the weekend, as it was a 13-10 final score that had to go to overtime to even get that far. So when you look at 6 of 14 for 7 yards between 2 quarterbacks, Tony DeVito, as we're calling you on this show, not even good enough to be called Tommy. I'm on that bandwagon too. I'm calling you Tony because you played absolutely terrible out here. You need to go get a Tony's pizza from the freezer, put it in the oven, and that'll play better than how you played on the field this past weekend. There, Tony DeVito. Call your uncle Danny DeVito. Get you some acting lessons and get you in Hollywood, because that's your best shot at success outside of that football field that you had no success on. Oh, Tony.
My God.
Tommy DeVito-esque Tony Tommy.
Why? My partner. Extra as always, but I love him. Mick says I shared it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mick. Appreciate it.
Six says, look, Tua and Tyreek have proven to be a remarkable pair thus far. Yeah. In the past couple of years, they have proven to be a remarkable pair. But he asks, so when you two say video game, do you mean Madden NFL? I'm thinking more NFL Street. Well, that 70-20 game that they had against the Broncos, NFL Street would pretty much be like what the Dolphins did to the Broncos in that game. Ryan says, look, that game was double bowling shoe pug fuggling. But they don't ask how, they just ask how many. Yeah, I agree. And I said that to you Sunday. I'm like, hey, I will take bowling shoe ugly victories. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how it happens. It just matters if you have one more point to your opponent. That's all that matters. And Wyatt stresses the Giants had -9 passing yards in an NFL regulation game. Ryan says the Giants almost had as many punts, 13, as passing attempts, 14. He also says, sick, he was thinking NFL blitz, Ryan said. Wyatt says, look, the Jets beat the Eagles, and hey, at least we, Wise, if y'all don't know, he's a Giants fan, beat the Commanders. But the we in this case now falls to 2-6. Meanwhile, the Jets, they fly past 500 again at 4-3, and hopefully they can sustain what they can, and let's see where it takes them from there. the Steelers played another game. It almost goes hand in hand. If you know the Steelers going to play, you know it's going to be a bowling shoe of the game. But it didn't go in their favor, and we'll talk about somebody who whined about it. 20-10, they lose to the Jaguars, who now have won their 5th in a row. Trevor Lawrence, 24-32, 292 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Kenny Pickett, unfortunately, left the game with a rib injury, and Minka Fitzpatrick left the game with an injury as well. So this was an ugly game, and it definitely was not in the Steelers' favor. The Jaguars basically just punched the Steelers in the mouth and just kept punching them in the mouth. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
Well, if anybody's been sleeping under a rock since the day that Mitch Trubisky got drafted, the questions of him being a starting quarterback in the NFL were definitely answered once again. Yes, well, on this afternoon against the Jaguars. When you look at what Mitch Trubisky did, only throwing for 138 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But again, we had talked over and over again in the past about establishing that running game. Mm-hmm. And when you're leading rusher, Jaylen Warren has 5 carries, 19 yards, averaging 3.8 yards per carry.
I don't get it.
Absolutely terrible. And what happened to Najee Harris? Where did Najee Harris go? 7 carries for 13 yards. Couldn't even average 2 yards per carry. That's how bad he played. I know it's bowling shoe ugly, but throw up old Dumpster Pelicans for a second, because I bet you he's like the 8th or 9th one in the back, hiding in the back underneath that Walmart bag over there. He is hiding when you look at what Najee Harris is doing, and he's moving up on the board. When you have that many, 7 carries, 13 yards, what is going on over there in Pittsburgh with this running attack? 19 yards, 18 yards, 13 yards, and 2 that are tied with 10, okay? You add all of those running attack numbers together, and you still don't even have 100 rushing yards between 5 different running backs on that team. Well, 5 different people running the ball, because Mitch Trubisky doesn't count as a running back. But even he had 3 carries for 18 yards, which was better than Najee Harris, okay? But when I look at Kenny Pickett, the fact that he was 10 of 16, 73 yards, got knocked out early, you still can't get excited about those numbers, because we've thrown enough shade on Kenny Pickett in this Kenny Pickett-led team of the Pittsburgh Steelers of this year. They did come into this game 4-2, but it wasn't on the play of Kenny Pickett. It was on the play of what this defense has done and the players around him. But if you don't establish that run, you don't have any type of future. As you look at what the Jaguars did, ETN gets 79 total yards. Mm-hmm. You can't get excited about that either, though, Cole, because 24 carries it took for him to get that far, averaging just over 3 yards per carry. It's average, but if you want to be the Jaguars to be better than what you were before, and to have a chance to actually advance in this playoffs to get not only to an AFC championship, but have a legitimate shot of reaching a Super Bowl, and to atone for your 6-2 record here, you have to do better per attempt here and at least be averaging 4 to 5 yards per carry if you're going to get anywhere and actually have a chance of moving the chains on a consistent basis right here from what the Jags should get accustomed to in their past. Because Trevor Lawrence, 24-32, 292 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Those are respectable numbers. But you kept the Steelers, a team that is not as good as what their record is showing right now, in this game based on some of the things you did. Evan Ingram was your leading receiver as well. You did positive things there with your receiving game. But I'm telling you, you got to protect the ball a little bit better, and you've got to get more yards per attempt in your running game if you want to have a chance of keeping this consistent thing going in a positive direction.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Ryan says, look, if you mean fly to refer to the Jets' victory call, it was with the Wright flyer that the Wright brothers used to fly all of 120 feet in 1903. Well, hey, I mean, I figured it was a great not alliteration. It was a great way to actually use the name. You know, Jets fly. Yeah, you get it. Speaking of flying, the Steelers aren't doing that. They now fall to 4-3. The Jaguars, they now improved to 6-2. They are now one of 4 teams to lead the AFC with that mark. Ooh. And now we get to my beloved partners, Commanders. They hosted the Eagles, and they played them tough again. And it was a high-scoring game again. It actually was in the 30s again. And the Commanders fell to the Eagles again. This time, 38-31. Jalen Hurts was 29-38 for 319 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did lose a fumble. A.J. Brown, who is being a stud among all studs, 8 carries, 8 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 of those 4 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 7 receptions, almost 100 yards, 99 to be exact. He received the 3rd of those 4 touchdowns that Jalen Hurts threw. And on the other side, Jahan Dotson, 8 receptions, 108 yards on the touchdown. And Sam Howell, 39 of 52, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, a pick. But the star of this program, the Commanders' offensive line, because they only gave up 1 sack.
What?
They only gave up 1 sack.
What?
Only gave up 1 sack. In games that they have given up 6 a couple times and 9 other times, they only gave up 1 sack.
What?
I'm back. I don't know what happened. I clicked the wrong button. Okay, so my apologies. What's weird, and especially at a time where I'm needed the most. I'm needed the most right here on this topic. And why? Because I have a show that's dedicated to the formerly known as the REDSKINS when talking about this team right here. I'm not going to go back into what I was saying. Nicole brings a very good point. Fumble here and some of the miscues there. But one of the bigger miscues, I will say, is we talked about weeks ago. Ron Rivera messing up by not doing this, Cole, and calling timeout. Okay? You remember that part. But all the man
when they played in Philly, right.
All the man had to do yesterday, and I'm going to use a yellow towel in comparison. All he had to do was take this and throw it up in the air.
Not the challenge.
Throw a challenge. That's all he had to do was make a challenge for that one play. It was dropped by Devontae Smith, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't throw the flag. On top of that, I'm surprised you didn't put a little bit more twang behind it this time, because you normally do with Sam Howell with what he did, but he threw the 1 interception. So between the interception he threw in the 4th quarter, between the fact that you can't take a towel and you can't throw the flag in the air, you couldn't do that. You didn't do that when you think of what old Riverboat Ron was capable of doing. These are the things, the questions at bay that we have when we talk about the fact of you need to get out there, Riverboat Ron. And we look at this team. We look at what the fact that Sam Howell did, throwing for 4 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts also threw for 4 touchdowns. It was a shootout in the 4th quarter when you look at these two teams. 21-14 was the overall score in just the 4th quarter. As the Eagles scored 21 points to the Commanders' 14. Then, going into halftime, things were 17-10. Commanders were up by a touchdown. Things were looking great in the favor of the Commanders going into halftime. But of course, the Eagles stepped up their game after reviewing what happened in the first half, and the Commanders just couldn't keep up. As the biggest thing that also affected them, besides that interception, besides that non-challenge flag that was thrown, you have to look at Brian Robinson only running for 59 yards and 10 carries. That right there is not huge production numbers when it comes to this running game. And the offensive line actually stepped up their game this game against the Eagles, as they only gave up 1 sack this entire time. There's 1 sack this entire game. When you look at that right there, in comparison to games where the Commanders have given up 6 sacks, And Sam Howell has taken one epic beating for him to only take one sack, for him to only throw one interception in a game against the defending NFC champions. I have to say that I'm proud of the work that what this Commanders team did overall. I can't get so upset as Sam Howell because he's practically a rookie, even though he was a rookie last year. This is his rookie season as a starter in the NFL, starting for the entire season. For him to play under the pressure that what this offensive line has been putting him in throughout the entirety of the season, throughout the 7 games up to this point, he's doing pretty well. The one sad statistic that we have right here to look at the Commanders, though, is even though, despite all the woes, they're doing pretty good at 3-5. Over their last 6 games, Cole, they are 1-5. I was making a joke about the Giants, okay? And things have come full circle, I guess. You can say it's garbage. I don't know. But you look at the past 6 weeks, and they are 1-5 when the Giants started the season. 1-5. I guess I have to say that this is coming to be one swift kick in the rear end to me as a fan and as one who covers this team. When you start out the season 2-1, and you were, I will say 2-0, and then you finish 1-5 through 6 weeks after that, it is not looking good for the rest of the season here for the Commanders. Cole, you are muted.
Thank you, sir. Let's try this again. The unhinged screams of Drew William are brought to you by Creepy Crawly Chocolate Chip Cookies, the ideal cookies this Halloween. I'm like, Lord. Oh, I'm sorry. And Hottie Mama Mood Juice, the best juice for wash down a peanut butter and jello sandwich.
Sick. I love these comments, but you haven't brought these comments to any of my shows on Sartoba Media for quite some weeks. I'm going to need you to show up during some other live content, especially this Thursday when D. Willie in the Evening is live in real time for the first time in the history of this show.
Oh, Lord. Big Sis, look, let's talk about the comments, but at the end of the day, the Commanders still lost. He also says, slow down, Drew, and stay in your lane.
Yes, Mick. I will stay in my lane, but I'm going to give you this, Mick, when it comes to the fact that my energy brought up the topic quite a bit.
Acknowledge me.
Speaking of energy, Ryan says, hey, Drew, bottle up some of that energy for tomorrow night's appearance on No Credentials Required.
If you guys watch the content, I don't have any problems with making sure energy is bottled up and dispersed evenly throughout the projects that are necessary. Cole can vouch for that one. There are not many people that can go through what I've gone through in the past 6 months and come back, and not only come back, but get ready and amped up like Ric Flair in the middle of a Michelob-infused promo.
You shut up, fat boy. Woman, I'll make a nice woman out of you. You better sit down and shut up.
Plus,
Space Mountain, oldest ride, longest line. Figure that out. Whoa! I'm sorry, my bad.
no, I was going to say plus Space Mountain, but the next thing out of your mouth was Space Mountain. you threw it right out there. It was great. But to piggyback off of what Ryan McCarthy just said as well, another beautiful thing that I've got going on this week is I am on PTO. So I've got all the time in the world, along with some other things I have to do during these days. But the nights are free. I'm ready to rock and roll. Looking forward to these 3 guest appearances that I have this week on 3 different shows.
Mick also says, so now the Commanders can call the Eagles their daddy. That's brutal, Mick. That's brutal.
Yeah, Mick was definitely giving them a hard time. If you guys get a chance after this show, go check out Commander's Gridiron Report and see the comments that Mick was saying. Even Mick sent me this personalized message in Facebook Messenger yesterday. I screenshotted and put up during the show, is I had to acknowledge, I'm not going to say the derogatory cuss word that he used in that message. As you can see it on that show if you go back and watch. But Mick was lighting them up there. He's lighting them up here. And we'll probably find one more time to light them up during this 3-hour broadcast.
Oh, Lord. Six says, look, I'll be there and rocking a kilt better than Samuel L. Jackson. And Mick also says, look, at least, Drew, the Commanders are not like the Cardinals, where they are 1-6. Well, we'll touch on them a little bit later.
But the Cardinals, at least, throughout their entire 8 weeks in the league, I'd say out of their 1-6 record or whatnot, they've been competitive in, out of those 7 games, they've been competitive in at least 4 to 5 of those games. Yeah. They've been, and not just, and that's outside of the victory. I'm talking about the losses. 4 to 5 of those losses they've been competitive in and have kept things very, very close. I can't throw so much shade on the Cardinals because they are not as bad as what that record makes them look to be. They are doing they're doing the best they can without Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray was there, they would not be 1-6. That team is scraping by, and they're doing the best they can with the quarterback that had just come off the street 10 days before this NFL season started. Mm-hmm. So have to give credit where it's due to this Cardinals team. They deserve better, and hopefully when Kyler Murray comes back, he'll play like the quarterback we thought he could be this entire time.
I got to admit, it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. You said doing the best I can. You gave me the earworm of Getting Better by the Beatles. I'm sorry. Evelyn Brooks, it's wonderful to meet your acquaintance. We're glad that you're here. I hope everything is fine with you. I think I could speak for Drew when I say that we're doing great. We hope you're doing great as well. Six says, I remember in a tirade on Monday Night Nitro, Ric Flair ended up having a heart attack in the ring. Yeah, and we already know what happened to me during the podcast. That's why I have to keep a lid on it at certain points. So that will never happen again. And Mick says, maybe your Commander team can get a high school football team. Wow, Mick drank a huge cup of somebody took a dump in his Folgers in his cup this morning because he is absolutely throwing the shade on the Commanders. You got to watch that yuck mouth there, Mick. Get it together out here in these comments. Oh, my gosh. Goodness. Anyway, you already heard what the Commanders have dropped to 3-5. The Eagles, they improved to a league best 7-1. And we'll, of course, talk about them and another annoying team later. You heard Drew's rant. I think I might have one of my own, but it won't be quite as long. The Texans, they went into Charlotte to play the Carolina Panthers. They held a 13-12 lead where it was all she wrote at the end of the game. The Panthers beat the Texans 15-13. Bryce Young leading the Panthers to their first ever victory, and his first ever victory, I should say their first victory of the year, and his first ever victory in the NFL, 22-31, 235 yards and a touchdown and a pick. But the Texas defense, they shined with 6 sacks. John Grenard had 2.5, and Malik Collins had 2 sacks of his own. Your thoughts on this game, sir? I know that that you definitely are a fan of this Houston team, so I'm going to go very easy on them. But this game was definitely a snooze fest when you look at it back and forth. 15-13. CJ Stroud was brought back down to earth, based on what he had done throughout the previous 7 weeks. He looked like a rookie in this game when he had 16 of 24 passes for 140 yards. Couldn't get the ball. He had the rushing touchdown, but other than that, he couldn't get the ball in the end zone. So have to give the credit where it's due for this Panthers defense for stepping up and holding them to 13 points when the biggest thing that's been electrifying from this Houston team this year has been what the offense has produced under that rookie known as CJ Stroud. For Bryce Young to get that victory yesterday was not only huge for that team, but for his confidence as well, because they were 0-6 coming into this game.
and
Right.
looked like the best shot at getting Caleb Williams when they'd already gotten the number 1 overall pick this past season and
Right.
picked up him. So even though they're still at the bottom of the totem pole, and especially when you think of the fact that we were just talking horribly about the Broncos a month ago, and the fact that they are now getting closer to 500, as they are now 3-5. But we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit. But when I look at the Panthers going from 0-6 to this win right here, not saying that they're still not going to potentially go 1-16 or 2-15. There is potential there for that. But you have to be excited if you're the Panthers fan, if you're a Panthers fan out there, seeing Bryce Young complete 22 of 31 yards for 22 of 31 completions for attempts, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. But the one thing that you have to look at too, and especially if there's a big-time running back coming out in the draft, if there's not an offensive lineman that you can get to help protect that offense, you have to look at the running back game, because the Panthers, 28 total yards on 15 carries by Chuba Hubbard. 28 yards, 1.9 yards per attempt. You're not going to get anywhere when you look at that running game right there on 15 carries and 28 yards. Adam Thielen, still at the top of the receiving corps, 8 receptions for 72 yards. He's a huge reason why this Panthers team got the victory in this past Sunday with the production that the Panthers did. But it is an awful situation for the Panthers. Good on the Texans to still lose the game, but still look like there's a lot of promise throughout, because there was a lot of positivity I was seeing on the production side of the Texans. But the Panthers stepped it up and got the victory where it was needed. No longer defeated. They have 1 win on this season.
Well, I'm so glad that you actually said what you said, because I agree with 100% with what you said. I will put it this way. Congratulations to the Panthers. This was a well-earned victory. For the Texans, it must be that you all have improved, because I actually feel salty. I feel salty because you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You had 14 days to prepare for this opponent. 14. You had 2 weeks to prepare for the Panthers. I'm sorry, Panthers fan. This is just the truth. The worst team in the NFL by far. Maybe not the train wreck that the Bears are, but on the field, on the product on the field, the Panthers are the worst football team in the NFL this year.
And shout out to Riley Tripp on the PSF app, who said, what an awful trade for the Bears when it came to DJ Moore, leaving there for the Panthers. And look at the reparations they're basically getting in return as they went 0-6 to start this year. And look at what DJ Moore did a couple weeks ago on that primetime game for the amount of yards he accumulated. Definitely worked out for them. If they just can get their team together, the Bears could have something special over there. But the Panthers had something special and could have had something special had it been DJ Moore and Adam Thielen as their wide receivers, their top 1 and 2. And then to go along with Bryce Young, make a few more pieces between now and 2024 start of the season. You could have had something really special. But now, looking at what you got now, it's not looking good for the Panthers.
No, it's not. Now, back to how I was just feeling. I'm feeling salty. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this team. Unfortunately, right now, you are showing how immature you still are. You're showing how much room you still need. You're showing how much room you still need to grow. You're showing how much growth is necessary for you to get to where you're supposed to go. And yes, D'Amico Ryans has the mentality of actually putting you in that position, but players make the plays. The coaches can only do but so much. You have to execute. So when you got the chance to actually jam that ball into the end zone in the red zone and you don't, you come up with 0, you come up with enough field goals, you're going to come back and it's going to bite you. You learned that lesson in Atlanta. No, you saw this lesson play out in Atlanta and you lost that game. You saw this lesson come again in Charlotte and you lost there too. So now you got to learn that if you have the ball in the red zone, punch it in. Get those points. Get 6. Put the throat on the neck of the opponent, because you cannot give any opponent in the NFL life. You cannot give them breathing room. You cannot give them confidence that they can beat you, because guaranteed they will. And now you are 0 for your last 2 on the road in learning that lesson. So now we understand that, yes, I figured that CJ Stroud was going to look like a rookie eventually, because he is a rookie. He was gonna have his lumps, and he took some, and he made some horrible throws in Sunday's game. Digest all of that film, not just now, not just next week, but for the offseason too, so that you can actually see that you can look this bad in a regular season game. And when you get going, you'd say, okay, that's the floor for me. Let Sunday's game be the floor for you, CJ, because you got a lot of talent, but sir, you did not show it on Sunday. Credit to the defense, though. The fact that you were able to hold the Panthers that long and only allow a touchdown and a few field goals, I give you all credit, because I mean you can only do but so much. You can only hold but so long. So credit to you guys for holding. The offense let you down. It's just that simple. You gave them 15 points. The Texans should have executed. They should give you at least 20, and they let you down. And I'm just speaking real as a Texas fan. They let you down, starting with CJ Stroud, going all the way down. They let you down, defense. But the Panthers, congratulations to you. They improved to 1-6. The Texans, who could have gone in sole possession of second place in the AFC South, now they are tied with the Titans at 3-4.
Speaking of letting down, if you don't mind,
Let me talk to you.
I want to apologize to my man Cole Johnson, as I got way too hype during this take right here, because I'm still getting used to this PSF's Pro Sports Fans app. I saw a comment. I got excited, and I jumped right in. So my apologies, as it fit right in with this topic. I had to get it out there when talking about the trade with the Bears.
Oh, no problem, sir. No problem. Oh, man. This is some good stuff, though. To the Sunday late games we go. And we just mentioned the Cardinals. They did host the Ravens in the desert. They fell to them 31-24. Lamar Jackson, 18-27. 157 yards and a touchdown. Oh, good Lord. I'm sorry. I was yawning because of that stellar performance they had in Baltimore last Sunday. It wasn't what he did this past Sunday. Joshua Dobbs on the other end, 25-37, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 on the INT variety. Trey McBride giving Dobbs 10 receptions, 95 yards and a touchdown. And the Cardinals defense putting Lamar Jackson down on the turf 4 times. Your thoughts, sir, on this game?
This is why I was saying what I was saying earlier when Mick made that comment about the Cardinals, because, you know, you look at what the Ravens did against a great team in the Lions the week before. And the Cardinals right here, if it wasn't for Josh Dobbs throwing those 2 interceptions, we could have seen an upset here. We could have seen the Cardinals beating the Ravens, as, you know, they only lost by 1 possession. It was 31-24, dropped to 1-7 after that. But when you got Joshua Dobbs, a guy who was just signed off the street like 10 days before the start of the season, having more production out of his play, than a former MVP in Lamar Jackson, someone who signed a stupid contract during the offseason that he negotiated, okay? And when you look at what he did against the Lions a week before, you'd argue that he deserved that contract. But when you just see what he did this past weekend against the Cardinals, you could argue the exact opposite. There's not many players out there with the skill to make us do a mental 180 on their performance and judge them week by week like someone like Lamar Jackson has proven over the past couple seasons. Wishy-washy at best. Cardinals, the running backs, 20 carries, 78 yards, averaging 3.9 for DeMarcado. When you look at what the running back did right there, that was a huge part right there and how the Cardinals did in staying close in this game, as he ran for almost 100 yards. Gus Edwards on the Ravens did the exact same thing. It was the play of the running backs that kept them close in this game, because the receiving core on both sides couldn't get much done. The defense, though, on both sides. You can't even look at them for stepping up too much because one team gave up 31 points. The other one gave up 24. The biggest difference here, as it was back and forth a little bit on both sides a little bit, was the fact that Dobbs had those 2 turnovers. If it was Kyler Murray in there, and if he was playing at the potential that we think he can do when he keeps the video game controller out of his hands, things could be different for this Cardinals team. They are much better than that 1-7 record that they are displaying right now.
Well, the remote control might be off of Kyler Murray's hands soon. They said that he might be able to play the next time the Cardinals take the field. As you said, they are 1-7. The Ravens are another AFC team that went to 6-2. Again, one of the 4. We talked about the Dolphins already. We talked about the Jaguars. We now just mentioned the Ravens. We'll get to the other team that is now 6-2 a little later. The game that probably is going to make many in the chat and my brother happy here, the San Francisco 49ers, they've been on a 2-game losing skid. They came home to lick their wounds to play against the Bengals, and the White Tigers got on that behind. 31-17 was the final score. Jamar Chase, 10 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. The Bengals offense gave you 134 rushing yards, with Joe Mixon giving you 87 of those yards and a touchdown. On the other side, George Kittle, 9 receptions, 149 yards. Brock Purdy, 22 of 31, 365 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a loss, one of those. But the star of the game, the man that in the commercial that we played for this program, was Mr. Dumpster Pelican. He was not Sunday afternoon. Joe Burrow, 28 of 32, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, a stellar game. The game you want your quarterback to play. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Our commercial that we have, I do throw shade at Joe Burrow for being one dumpster Pelican. But in this past game, he definitely did not play like a dumpster Pelican. He has definitely moved down on the chart to at least number 16 or number 17, hiding behind another. Look at the far left back one, the one that has his head turned slightly to the right, that's looking dazed and confused in the back. That's Joe Burrow, except for he got a moment of clarity this past Sunday, got it together, and definitely produced some great numbers to help this Bengal team beat a overhyped San Francisco 49ers team that has been way overhyped. I mean, look at them. You were 5-0, and now in the past 3 games, you are 0-3. 0-3, humbling the blank out of so many 49ers fans who have been outspoken and now broken on the fact that this team right here has gave you too much false hope and has now let you down. Now that you have lost 31-17, Brock Purdy, I have to give him a little bit of praise here. Didn't play terribly. It was just those 2 interceptions that cost the game right there. Those 2 interceptions he threw late in the game. The kid threw 22 of 31 for 365 passing yards. But it could only get the ball in the end zone one time for passing. And the other part, too, we talked so much before about the running attack. When your quarterback, after the amount of yards that he threw, is your leading rusher for 6 carries of 57 yards, that's a red flag right there. Yes. So you got to get that together. That's the reason. And we talked about that the week before, I feel like. I know this isn't the first time we talked about it, with Brock Purdy being the leading rusher, and you're losing games because of it. So it's not a beautiful situation over there in San Francisco. You don't have much to brag about anymore, San Francisco 49ers fans. You have been humbled. And Brock Purdy's been humbled. Now, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep on having the losing skid, or are you going to turn it around? I feel like they still have a chance to turn it around. The season's not over yet. They're not like 2-6 like the Patriots right now. The season's not a complete wash. But what does make a difference here is seeding. And if you keep losing into where you're barely making it in there at we'll say a 10-7 or 11-6 record, you're going to be lower on that seating in the seating to where you're not going to get a first round bye. You might not get a home game. And that makes a difference, especially in the cold weather of January.
Heck, they might not even make the playoffs all along if if they keep going the way they're going. Six says, I think Drew should always have a night nurse on standby whenever he's doing the show, just to be on the safe side. A night nurse, huh? Okay. Mick says, I have to say I love all the show that Drew and Cole have, and I love all the podcasters. Thank you, Mick. We appreciate the love, brother.
Thank you, Mick. Now, when it comes to the night nurse, is there a certain special? No, I don't want to go there. I might get canceled. I was thinking about the Deshaun Watson situation. I was going to talk about R&Ts.
So you saying sick? This will be true. Don't be a Dunster Pelican girl. Oh yeah, you gonna earn all these Willie bucks. Oh, yeah, girl. You keep going, girl. I'm gonna have a tale to tell on D Will in the evening. Oh yeah. Oh, let me stop. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So let me see what. Oh yeah. Mick goes on. He says, "This is beautiful. The 49ers are 5-3."
And nobody, and I mean Cole, myself included, would not have predicted this through the first 5 weeks of the season. You see him go 5-0, and the downfall that we've seen since week 5, would not have guessed that. It would have guessed it, that they lost a game or two, maybe, but not 3 consecutive.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. Mick has a lot of love for you. He says Drew needs a lot of help.
Hey, I think anybody who lived in the world during 2020 needs some type of help.
Isn't that the truth? Ryan says, are the 49ers, dare I say, frauds? And Six says, it is to your discretion, Drew, but she'll always be a consummate professional.
Ooh, well played, Sick. Well played.
That was well played. And Wise says, we both know why we are celebrating that they keep losing. Oh my gosh.
Outspoken and broken. That's how the 49ers are right now.
So the 49ers dropped to 5-3 and they go on a bye. The Bengals off their bye, they improved to 4-3 as they have a big time matchup ahead for them. And they could not look any better than they did this past Sunday. So we had the Packers. Oh, sorry, my bad. No. We had the Bears. I'm sorry. Chargers. Gosh, if this wasn't such a bowling shoe ugly game, I almost wanted to skip not talking about it. 30-13, the Chargers beat the Bears. The game seriously was not that close because it was actually 30-7 midway to the fourth quarter. Justin Herbert, 31-40, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns. Austin Eckler, 50 carries for 29 yards, but the damage he did was through the air, 9 receptions, 94 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Your thoughts on this horrendous, hideous Sunday night game?
This game was not something that I admit I didn't stay up and watch it because when you look at the caliber of the teams, I mean, the Chargers ran away with it pretty early. Being up 14-0 after the first quarter, you might as well just turn the game off at that point, like I did, because Tyson Bagent, 25 of 37, 232 yards, 2 interceptions. The highlight of the game for him was pregame when he went and gave his dad dap before he started the game. That was the only highlight for him when it came to this. Justin Herbert threw for nearly 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 31 of 40 in pass attempts. And he did all of that while having a running back, an Austin Eckler, with only 15 carries, 29 yards. That's usually a recipe for disaster right there. The Chargers overcame that. That's also why the Chargers were 2-4. Coming into this game.
That's correct.
Luckily, facing a team in the Bears who were 2-5 coming into this game, definitely not a recipe for success there, as the Bears, one of those 2 victories, beat the Commanders pretty decisively 40-20. But that Bears team that showed up on that night on the spirit of Dick Butkus, we're not going to get into that story that we talked about weeks ago and why, but there were no other great stories, no other great ghosts out there lingering around to help the Bears get over the hump in this game, as the Chargers won pretty decisively 30-13.
Makes sense. Get it right, Cole. You're right. I should. Yeah. This was dumpster Pelican worthy. That game was hideous. The Bears dropped to 2-6. The Chargers, they improved to 3-5. Is that right? Is it 3-5?
Chargers
3-4.
Yeah, they had a bye week.
They had a bye. I was trying to remember they had that bye already, but yes, they improved 3-4. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Monday night game. Beat down the Raiders 26-14. The Lions weren't even interested in playing the Raiders Monday night. The Raiders are just so horrible. Jared Goff 26-37, 272 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Jahmyr Gibbs gets off, and I believe this is his, if it's not his first, it's his second 100-yard rushing game. 26 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 5 receptions for 37 more yards there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 receptions for 108 yards. The Lions defense, along with the 152 rushing yards that Jahmyr Gibbs gave them, they gave him another 70 for a total of 222 on the ground. And the Lions defense, with Alex Anzalone with 2 sacks and Aleem McNeil with 2 more, the Lions tacked on 6 sacks on Jimmy Garoppolo. Lord. The Raiders, they dropped to 3-4. The Lions, they improved to 6-2. Your thoughts, sir?
Jimmy G, what is going on with you there in Las Vegas? As you have 10-21 pass completions on attempts for 126 yards and an interception. The only one that really played worse than you was old Tony, little Tony, Tommy DeVito, long distant relative of Danny DeVito over there for the New York Giants. You getting paid the amount of money that you're getting paid, you are stealing money from the ownership in Las Vegas for the type of production that you are bringing. Looking at the fact that your receivers in Devontae Adams had 7 targets, only reeling in 1 of those for 11 yards. Yeah, if anybody should be traded by 4 o'clock today, it should be Devontae Adams out of the Raiders organization and given a better opportunity. By the time our show ends, there will only be 2 hours remaining for the trade deadline. And I hope that they do right by Devontae Adams, because he is literally held hostage over there in Las Vegas, because there's nothing productive coming from that team. It's not like they are 1 or 2 trades away between now and the next 3.5 hours from making them a contender over there in the AFC. This team is an absolute wreck right now. They are what Charles Barkley says is...
That's terrible.
They are absolutely terrible. They are, and I'll bring it up here, they are the 4th dumpster Pelican hiding in the back underneath that box of Tony's Pizza that is just sitting there on top of them that's being held in place by Danny DeVito's long-lost relative, Tommy DeVito. You have to look at this play by this team, the Las Vegas Raiders team, and say, are you excited about their future with their quarterback at bay, Mr. Garoppolo? Are you excited about their head coach they have in place who wears a visor too crooked to be a head coach in the NFL? No, I'm not excited about him. I'm not excited about either one of them. And I'm not excited about what this team is doing with their owner who has a horrible haircut. Altogether, this Raiders team needs to get it together. Their owner needs to get a new haircut style other than a bowl cut that's been in fashion since 1964. And you need to get things together overall with the bowl cut because it's not looking good for the Las Vegas Raiders whatsoever in their future. No matter if you draft Caleb Williams or whoever is available next offseason, it's not going to work for you and the bowl cut.
That game Monday night.
That's terrible.
Lord have mercy. Goodness gracious. But what wasn't bad maybe depending on your perspective, but the Broncos, they beat the Chiefs 24-9, and it is the first victory for the Broncos since week 2 in 2015. That's right. The Broncos have lost to the Chiefs repetitively for 8 years, and they finally, after 8+ years, get the monkey off their back against their divisional rival. The defense led the way with 3 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 INTs. Their offense gave you 153 rushing yards with Russell Wilson, 12 of 19, 114 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a lost fumble. Of course, you can see the defensive hand and footprints all over Patrick Mahomes. He went 24-38 for 241 yards, no touchdowns, 2 INTs. But the Chiefs defense, even though they were out this game, 6 sacks and a fumble recovery. Your thoughts on this monumental victory for the Broncos?
Definitely big on the Broncos to now jump up to 3 wins overall for the season. And, you know, for the first time in the last 7.5 to 8 seasons, getting a win over the Chiefs. But the one thing that we need to acknowledge here for the Chiefs is it's not looking good when it comes to their receiving core. What do they have outside of Travis Kelce? Not much. When you look at what the Broncos held him to, 6 receptions for 58 yards. Rashee Rice had 4 receptions for 56 yards, which is decent in contribution to that. But you have to be concerned of the fact that outside of those 2 numbers right there, those 2 players, there's not much coming from the Chiefs' offense. Isaac Pacheco had 8 carries of 40 yards, which is not good for a team that's coming off of a Super Bowl victory and trying to go repeat. It doesn't look like they're going to do that, especially if you can't get Taylor Swift in the house on a regular basis, because whenever Travis Kelce is playing this season without her in attendance, his numbers look more humanized than ever. He goes off and plays video game when he has her in attendance. But unfortunately, she was on tour this week and wasn't around to attend this game. And it definitely showed as they let the Broncos in. Like Bray Wyatt used to say, let me in. Well, you let the Broncos in. And look at what happened as they beat you 24-9. It wasn't the altitude of Colorado that affected you. It wasn't the hype of Taylor Swift that affected this team. It was the fact that you couldn't spread it around enough. And when you did, you turned it over as Patrick Mahomes made some mistakes. It affected the overall play of this offense as he couldn't put the ball in the end zone when it came to passing or when it came to running for himself, as he had 241 passing yards with not 1, but 2 interceptions on this game. Had he not thrown those 2 interceptions, it would have made a big difference but the Broncos still would have had more points scored in the game than in this case when it comes to this situation being 24-9 with the Broncos winning this game right here. Russell Wilson steps it up as well. Looking at what he did in this game, he had 3 touchdowns, but he only had 114 total passing yards. It wasn't like he outdueled Mahomes. He was just better at being a game manager overall, as he had sufficiently less amount of passing yards in the game than Mahomes, but 0 turnovers. You had to give credit where it's due. You looked like Trent Dilfer in this game, Russell Wilson. If you can keep that up, though, Trent Dilfer got a Super Bowl ring, and you have one too in a very different time with a very different team. Not saying that the Denver Broncos are going to be the next Baltimore Ravens, of course, because they had a lot more going for them beating those Baltimore Ravens, to where Trent Dilfer could throw for 114 yards and 3 touchdowns and still win the game in a game manager aspect. It's not going to happen for the Russell Wilson-led Denver Broncos at this point, but for you to do that over the Kansas City Chiefs, that's definitely a huge confidence booster than the previous weeks of what you produced out there on that field.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, for their bye, the Broncos, they improved to 3-5, and the Chiefs, they fall to 6-2. And yes, they are now the 4th team in the AFC that has that 6-2 mark to lead the conference. Wise says Josh McDaniels is straight trash or trash. Bowl cuts with him. Wise also says, to Tommy DeVito's defense, he is the 3rd string for a reason. I'll save my comments for that later. Wise also says, free Devontae Adams. And he talks about the Broncos Chiefs and says, yes, I would call that an upset. Oh, it just is. 6 says, are you saying that Taylor Swift has or is Travis Kelce's mojo? Drew?
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he is.
Absolutely.
Yes, he is. Mick says, Drew, do you see who Washington plays in Week 10?
Here we go again. Here we go again with that. It's overhyped. It's overhyped. Give it a break.
Well, I just know this. It looks like Travis Kelce, along with the rest of the Chiefs, they're just gonna have to what's the word? Oh yeah, shake it off as they go onward. Goodness gracious. Get to the game of the week, and it was on Lumen Field's turf between the Cleveland Browns and the Seattle Supersonics. No, I'm just joking. Seahawks. But you would have thought it was the Supersonics because they went throwback jersey on us with the silver helmets, silver pants, and the royal blue jerseys. The Seahawks came from the 20-17 deficit to beat the Browns 24-20. Geno Smith, 23-37, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Bobby Wagner ended up with 13 tackles on the game. On the losing side, the Browns offense ended up with 155 rushing yards. And PJ Walker, a man that our brother Brian had the audacity to say he had faith in, 15 of 31, 248 yards, a touchdown, 2 INTs. But I understand why he had faith in him, because he was praying and hoping of all hopes that they would do the 49ers a solid and beat their divisional rival. Nope. The Browns fall to 4 and good Lord, can't even think. 4-3. The Seahawks improved to 5-2, and they lead the NFC North. Your thoughts, sir?
You know, looking at this game, the only reason why it was as close as it was because the Cleveland Browns defense kept them in the game. They had multiple interceptions and held them very tight, as, you know, Geno Smith was definitely not playing up to his full potential, turning the ball over a couple times. Especially PJ Walker did so bad, they even had to throw DTR in there for a play, as he was 101 for 9 yards. So DTR definitely, if he would have played a lot better earlier in the season when he had that one opportunity to showcase himself and had multiple picks, and this was when Deshaun Watson first got hurt, we would see DTR in there and not PJ Walker. So unfortunately, DTR is just still too young in order to be able to go out there and do the things that what we thought he could do as a solid backup quarterback, which is why we're seeing PJ Walker in there PJing it up in his PJs out there as the quarterback for the Browns. So Deshaun Watson needs to get that shoulder back together and stop getting the R&Ts as much as he has been and get back out on that field and show us that he deserves to get the overpay that he is getting. And I say that very sarcastically. Going out there and showing us that he deserves to be overpaid, because how does that even make sense? It doesn't. How do you go out there and prove you deserve to be overpaid? It doesn't happen. So right now, you're proving the fact that it's right. You are seriously overpaid there, Deshaun Watson.
What?
Can't say it enough. You are overpaid.
Yeah.
And if you feel like what I'm saying is absolutely wrong,
Stop it. Get some help.
because look at the score. Look at the score right here. The Seahawks, with the way they played, did not deserve to win this game, for one. And the Browns, for the defense that they have, the stacked defense that they have put together, deserve much, much better. Overall, right here, you have to look at PJ Walker and what he did, as he is now moved up the rankings as one of those dumpster pelicans on that board.
Oh, Lord.
I would say he's probably the 9th one in the back. He's just behind Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is working his way down, okay? Remember, Joe Burrow was in the top 2 of dumpster pelicans to start the season, which is where that epic commercial came from. But he's climbing back down. I just said earlier Joe Burrow's about number 9. Hopefully I'm trying to get Joe Burrow off that list at some point. But hey, I don't control how you play. You're not a puppet. I'm not a puppeteer, and you are no puppet. You are just playing the game like you know how, and hopefully you know how to get off that dumpster pelican list at some point.
Goodness gracious. Well, again, the Browns fall to 4-3. While the Seahawks, they improved to 5-2, and that concludes not just this week's game of the week, but it also concludes opening drive. Goodness gracious, Lord have mercy.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Break.
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys.
Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk. We're glad that you're with us with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson. And, Mick to the feedback zone. He says, look, at least the Seahawks didn't poop the bed like the Commanders did, Drew. Oh, Lord.
Mick is not letting that go when it comes to the Commanders wetting the bed. Hey, at least they hung in tight with the NFC champions, the reigning NFC champions.
Well, they did. They did do that. They did do that. Most certainly they did. Well, let's get to the GRIDIRON Scoop, shall we? The unfortunate news from the Twin Cities. Kirk Cousins, are two chains, as people have called them recently. He suffered an Achilles tear. It was similar to the injury that the Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers suffered, and it looks like he's going to be missing the rest of the 2023 season. Now, Cousins exited the game against the Packers early in the fourth quarter, and Vikings officials reported after the game that they feared the worst, that the Achilles was torn. Cousins was looking to throw on the third and 19 play when he went down on a 4-yard loss. He then limped off the field as the Vikings field goal unit came out to give you the field goal. The head coach of the Vikings, good Lord, I'm sorry, head coach of the Vikings, Mr. O'Connell, he had this to say about the injury. Quote, well, we're going to have to be there for Kirk every step of the way, and vice versa. That, we're confident that Kirk will continue to be the leader of our football team, even if he's not playing. Close quote. And speaking of the leader of the Vikings, how can the Vikings continue to go forward during Cousins' season-ending Achilles tear?
Well, they've got until 4 p.m. Eastern time today to potentially make a move to bring somebody in, because we're already talking about Kirk Cousins being in contract year, potentially, leveraging some type of deal from the Vikings. But now that you have this type of injury, it kind of affects that. Do they bring in someone like Ryan Tannehill, which I don't really encourage because of what we've seen from him in Tennessee? I don't feel like he's going to come in here and make an ultimate spark to this Vikings team. But what I can say is there are other decent options out there that you potentially have to go through, potentially during the offseason. Your season now might be over if you are the Vikings. It's not that great of a situation for them, and seeing with what happened, can they continue to move forward? Yes, but I don't know with who though, because besides Ryan Tannehill, it's not like that the Trey Lance is going to be moved from Dallas, because they just made a move to bring him in as the backup over there in Dallas. When you look at other quarterbacks to potentially be moved, you got Andy Dalton in Carolina, Jameis Winston in New Orleans, Mac Jones in New England, Davis Mills in Houston, Case Keenum, who's also in Houston, Bailey Zapp, who's in New England. But then those are just ones that could be traded. You can sign literally off the street right now Colt McCoy, somebody who snapped 2 ankles in one play, Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, John Wolford. I mean, these are guys that you could sign off the street right now. But out of all those names, do I feel like that the Vikings can take that one piece and resurrect the rest of their season based on the way that they had already started the season, when they were like, 1-4, and now they're 4-4? They are where they're at right now based on the play of what Kirk Cousins did to help bring them back in this season. There's nobody, and I repeat, nobody on that list of people that I just named that can come in at the midway point now that we are literally at the midway point of the year. I don't care if Nick Foles helped take the Eagles to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. It was because he knew the system. He had been in Philadelphia for years before he left and then came back and did what he did. So he was familiar with the franchises and was comfortable overall. Carson Wentz snapped 2 ankles in one play. Colt McCoy is probably the only one out of all those guys that you could sign off the street that I would be comfortable with having potentially finishing this year at 9-8, but even that's a stretch. Out of all the players you can trade for, Jameis Winston can sling the rock, but throws as many interceptions as he does touchdowns. Mac and Shee, we just talked earlier about what he did with the New England Patriots. Bailey Zapp is too young of a quarterback who's had too many flashes for the Patriots to probably be traded at this point by Bill Belichick. So honestly, the best case scenario would be to sign Colt McCoy. And I don't even know if that is your best case scenario. I feel like the Vikings' rest of their season is now washed.
Yeah, because the replacements on the team would be Jaron Hall, who, of course, replaced Cousins in Sunday's game, and Nick Mullins. And then what makes matters even worse, Kirk Cousins is on the last year of his current contract this year.
Oh, we forgot one person. According to Mick, we didn't talk about Carson Wizen. Carson Wizen, the legendary free agent out there, who is kind of like that jacked up. If you ever watch those NBA videos or MLB videos that the guy does with the video games, and hypes them up to where they look like they're on steroids, steroid, whatever his name is. Carson Wizen is the next one that you can bring in there. He has 2 strong ankles. He'll get things done. Trust your franchise in the hands of Carson Wizen.
That's terrible.
Goodness gracious.
I had to, Mick.
No, you did. Oh, goodness gracious. Yes, as my partner has mentioned, the trade deadline is later on today. If you're actually watching this live, 4 p.m. today, Eastern time, that is when the trade deadline is over for the 2023 season for the NFL, or the National Football League. One of those targets has been publicly known as Derrick Henry. The Houston Oilers, Tennessee Titans, they now have entered a tight window to determine whether their focus is going to be near or long term. And primarily that means if they're going to trade Derrick Henry, they already traded their safety Kevin Byard to the Eagles. So this would probably continue that fire sale with the Oilers, Titans. And then now I'll ask this question for you, to you, sir. Will the Titans move Henry at the trade deadline?
Based on the way that they're playing, they should. I don't think they will. We're this close. We're only 3 hours away from the deadline, and the talk of him being traded isn't as well received, in my opinion, as it would be of other trade talks we've discussed for other potential teams that are willing to trade their running back. The Ravens got enough production out of Gus Edwards this past weekend that they've had enough overall production from their running game to where he would be a nice compliment, but I don't feel like they need him there, more so over the fact that you've got the Browns, who have been feeling it since Nick Chubb had his injury not that long ago. So Kareem Hunt and him were a great 1-2 punch. And I feel like if he's going to go anywhere between the two teams, I feel like he would be better suited for the Browns, depending on if they can actually get Deshaun Watson to come back pretty healthy. Can you imagine having Deshaun Watson with Kareem Hunt and Derrick Henry leading in the backfield? That's a great 1-2 punch. You've got multiple options at not just handing the ball off, but screenplays, and better than just screenplays, what Tony DeVito tried to do for the Giants for every single play. But you could actually have them run routes and actually catch passes, something that old Danny DeVito's long-lost relative couldn't get done for the New York Giants, okay? So would Derrick Henry work out for the Giants? Not with Tony DeVito, Tommy DeVito, whatever his name is. But when you look at the Browns, I feel like that would be a pretty good fit for Derrick Henry. in a contract situation where he needs to showcase his talents and get paid outside of this year as well. And when you got the opportunity that Nick Chubb's void has still left to be filled there for the Browns, he would have a better chance of success with the Browns this year than with the Titans, who are absolutely not up to par and going to potentially cost Vraves his head coaching job over there in Tennessee.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel, I think he's I'm only saying this coaching wise speaking. I think it's a dead man walking. It's unfortunate, but yeah, I think his time has come. And I think Henry's time to really be a producer of the Titans has come too, because this team is long ways away from being a contender. They're going to have to probably do a lucky crapshoot roll like they did in 2019 and hope and wish and pray, have everything fall in the right direction, and they can have a run to take them to the AFC Championship game. Otherwise, what we have seen the last few years is what we're going to get with this team, and that's not good for a guy who needs to tote the rock at least 20 times a game. Yeah. I hate it for him, though. But I agree with you. I think he remains a Titan, though. We now see the Jaguars. They're winning games, but they're not winning games in the pretty fashion. They are winning ugly. But the thing is, good teams do find a way to win games, and it doesn't matter how it looks. Even with their 20-10 victory over the Steelers at the Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium, it was one of those gritty, grind 'em out type games. And the Jaguars seem to be playing more of them. Trevor Lawrence, he talked about that, the quarterback of the team, saying, quote, "It's a testament to us making plays when we have to." I mean, that's never the formula. We talked about it a lot going into the game this past Sunday. The Steelers, if you have more than one turnover, if you give them more than a sack or two, if you don't score at least 23 points, their record is really, really good when those things happen. Close quote. But they are preventing those things, at least in this 5-game winning string stretch. Now, my question to you, sir, is: are the Jaguars a real contender in the AFC this year?
They're showing flashes of it, but you can't get too excited over what things are brewing over there in Duval County. When it comes to this, there's so many suspect situations. And yes, I'm hating on cousin Tommy, their wise, when it comes to the New York Giants. But you can say Duval all you want to, but things need to improve over there for them. ETN did pretty decent in the running back game, but Trevor Lawrence needs to do a better job protecting that ball if you want to have a good chance of taking things there for the Jaguars. I'm not so sold on them over there in Duval.
Why are you hating on cousin Tommy? Oh, Lord Wise, thank you. Oh,
did you watch that game? That's why I'm hating on cousin Tony.
Well, I'm sure.
Tony.
I'm sure. Well, I'm sure Wise watched the game, but yeah, I couldn't. The best part, I saw the best part basically when the Jets kicked the field goal to send the game to overtime. But yeah, the Jaguars, I don't think they're ready yet. I think they still need just a little bit more seasoning in their play. But I think this is a good confidence boost, because I think they're starting to see that they are making progress, and I think that is necessary for growth. I think they had a taste of victory, they had a taste of success in the playoffs last year. Now they've had a taste of, okay, so this is what it looks like to be at the penthouse of the conference. And they already know what it's like to be the division champ, but they know what it now looks like to be at the penthouse of the conference. Now they have to sustain that, and they have to learn how to keep that and not luck up in the wins, actually find ways to win. And although in their 5-game winning streak stretch they have done that, I think they still have to learn how to win even more. Wise says, no, he didn't watch the game because he is on to the NBA and NHL. Yes. Yes. No betting The man who was sick of the Giants ever since that 40-0 beating of the Cowboys. Number 420. I'm sorry, my bad. Wrong show. That takes care of the gridiron scoop. Okay, there we go. Had to get rid of that real fast. Here we
Well,
go.
if you didn't watch it, then why are you commenting on it?
Total football talk.
Where my dogs at? I almost have to award Wise for the comment of he's on to the NBA and NHL, although he's watching an NFL show right now. But this is the show part of the week where we award the best of the best, the dog of the week, or the grand champ. And for Drew's, here he goes.
You know, there's not many times where I'm going to sit up here for the dog of the week and give you a choice that I'm going to give you right here. Of course, this choice that I'm going to give you is an actual quarterback. This selection, I will say, to be more correct with my terminology, is someone who's actually a rookie.
Oh.
And this rookie quarterback that I'm choosing for this week has to come from a team that Cole despises with his heart wholeheartedly, and that being the Tennessee Titans. I have to give credit to Will Levis against the Atlanta Falcons in this past week, as the 28 points that they scored all came on his arm as he threw for 4 touchdown passes in that game. 19 of 29, 238 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, along with Derrick Henry's 101 rushing yards, was part of the 1-2 punch that led the Titans to victory over the Atlanta Falcons. My dog of the week is Will Levis.
I figured you was going to go there. For reasons I can't really go here, you're correct. You know, he has struggled throughout this regular season thus far, and it's really been tough and touch and go pretty much ever since training camp. But he came into his own, went into Santa Clara, and he performed the best that he has looked, I would say, in probably since when they played the Chiefs, not in the playoffs, but in the regular season last year. And of course, I'm talking about the Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow. And come on, against a defense people are saying is top notch. I mean, they were top 10 going into that game. He shreds them for 283 yards for 3 touchdowns and throws 28 of 32 against that elite of a defense. That is saying a lot. And I think the team has been needing to have that performance, and what a time to actually give them one. And I tip my cap to Joe Burrow, or the new Joe Cool, or Joe Cool 2.0. He was on his game this past Sunday. And hopefully this is a portent of things to come, because when he's on, I can only think of one other quarterback that is better. And even this past Sunday, he wasn't it. So my dog this week, my grand champ, is Cincinnati Bengals signal caller Joe Burrow. Keep it up, Joe, because it's going to have to take your performances like that to bring the Bengals not just to the NFC, not to the AFC North Championship, but to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. And those are the grand champs for this week.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated, creating content magic in the real world.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to. See how I
Is
went
he
on
gonna
make
be able to keep his phone down and not make bets?
Come
Come on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Back to Total Football Talk. We are here and we are live right here and in living color with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson, and we are enjoying this. Thank you to the Pro Sports Fans Talk app. We appreciate the love that you all are sending us, and we appreciate the love of just actually broadcasting live and raw as we like to do. And we appreciate all of you watching on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel and the Columbia Media YouTube channel as well. You all are the reason why we're doing this in the first place. So we thank you all for watching. And we will get this started. Week 9 is here. Let's get to the most star-studded of all the games for the upcoming week. So we will begin with a game in, let me see. We'll begin with a game in Baltimore. Now, the Ravens at 6-2, they host the Seahawks at 5-2. Kickoffs at 1 p.m. on Sunday. The Ravens are favored by 5. And we'll start with the Seahawks, who now lead the NFC West, and they are actually in prime position to be one of the top seeds in the NFC period. Now, we've seen them up and down, and we've seen them play inconsistent, and you actually marked saying that against with Geno Smith playing against the Browns, the inconsistent play in that particular game. And I've seen inconsistent play throughout the year. When will we actually see the Seahawks play more consistent?
Well, I mean, they are on a 2-game winning streak right now. So, I mean, that is positive for them. But based on with what Geno Smith did in this past game, if you do that against this Ravens team, it's not going to be a recipe for success, regardless of how bad Lamar Jackson played in this past game as well. It was an off game for him. We don't see that on a consistent basis from him. So you cannot expect to go in there and play the way you did, that being Geno Smith, and get a third straight win for the Seahawks. I just don't see this team's consistency on the production side improving whatsoever when it comes to their 2-game winning streak. We'll get into that here when we get to the game predictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on the Seahawks. I think they cannot get away with having that type of performance with Geno Smith. And Lamar Jackson didn't even play mistake-errored football Sunday. He wasn't himself, and they still won the game. So, yeah, even Lamar Jackson doesn't play his best game, if he doesn't turn the ball over, and Geno Smith plays worse than that, yeah, I can't see them coming out with a W. On the flip side, now we saw that offense explode against the Lions, but we saw that offense be pedestrian. I think that's the best way I could put it, against the Cardinals 7 days later. Can the offense perform like they did against the Lions again?
They can. I just don't see it being possible against this team being the Ravens. They can do it. And it's weird that we're saying it the other way around because, if we'd have talked about this preseason, I would have guessed the other way around. I'd have been like, yeah, they can do it against the Ravens, but maybe not against the Lions, based on the hype of what we had seen from, Hard Knocks and all that stuff. But now looking at it, I just don't think they're going to be able to do what they did against the Lions.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think it's going to be a little tougher for them to execute the way they did against the Lions against the Seahawks. I don't see it, but hey, any given Sunday, as they say. So, who do you have in this game, sir?
In this game in particular, I've got the Ravens winning this game by at least one possession. I feel like they're going to win by at least a touchdown in this game. I think Lamar Jackson realizes that, just like I was talking about, he was playing not up to his contract self in this past game, is going to want to prove the haters otherwise in this next contest against the Seahawks.
I agree with you there. And I think it's going to be the Ravens as well. So, yeah, join along with us. Who do you have in the chat in PSF, the app at PSF, and in the chat here on the Sober Media and Kobe Media YouTube channels? Join along and pick with us. Mick says Seahawks. Snowman is here. He says, my football brothers. Well, we are glad that our podcast brother is joining us here. Now, switching to the game that's going to make me ill just upon seeing the pregame. The Cowboys are 5-2. They traveled to South Philly to play the Eagles at 7-1. The hype is already here. We've already heard that, the 49ers were supposed to be the team. They ain't, but the Cowboys will be that team. It's 4:25 kickoff for this game on Sunday. All right, let's start with the Cowboys. What I saw against the Rams this past Sunday was a confident and assured Dak Prescott. And I think that is the biggest key of this offense actually being good, of being they actually can do something. So the only issue I have, though, is they went so far away from the run that they relied so much on Dak, and Dak just was cooking and dealing. Is it possible for the Cowboys to diversify their offense?
It's possible, but I think that with taking this question and putting a different spin on it, I don't know if they can do that and diversify their offense consistently. They can diversify their offense per matchup. In this case, they did it against the Rams, who have been suspect ever since they won that Super Bowl. They haven't been the same team ever since that happened.
Right.
So I feel like they can diversify their offense, but I think the bigger question when it comes to that is, can they do it consistently? And I don't think that's the case. I think they can do it on a team-by-team, week-by-week basis. But when it comes to successful teams and being able to make a run in the playoffs, that's not a recipe for success.
I agree. And if it's impossible for them to do this week to week, the comment that we saw earlier that Ryan McCarthy said, basically mocking Cowboys fan, when they say, we're going to Super Bowl, right? We'll be hearing less of that, and we'll be seeing less of Michael Irvin doing the doggone George Jefferson shuffle on TV. But I digress. On the other side of the ball, I don't think I've been able to say this about a 7-1 team ever, but my God, the Eagles have actually played underwhelming. There's times when the offense is just but the defense steps up. And then in the 2 games they have already played against Commanders, the defense has been trampled on, but the offense comes through and explodes. So when is it possible that we'll actually see this team that is already 7-1 and they haven't played their best game yet put it all together?
That's a really good question, because the record of 7-1 is not as good as what this team is not as good as what their record actually portrays. When you look at their one loss that they had, they lost to a Zachary Capono Wilson led Jets team, and old Zachary Capono Wilson only had 186 passing yards. And the biggest reason why they lost that game 20-14 was because Jalen Hurts had 3 interceptions that he threw. So this team could be still undefeated right now. Could be 8-0.
Yes.
Had it not been for that. Playing the Washington Commanders in the 2 games that they won there against them, the one at home and the one here this past weekend, it took the one at home going to overtime for them to get the win.
Right.
And it took them being in a literal shootout and an actual Sam Howell interception in this past one to put the nail in the coffin for them to get the actual win. So when it comes to this Eagles team, that's a great question that you pose right there, Cole Johnson. But when it comes to them actually being able to put it all together, I don't know if they will be able to, because when you lose to the Jets and Zachary Capono Wilson, that's a huge red flag on the way your season is projected to go. And it's not looking good. If you're an Eagles fan, don't get so bought into the hype of them being 7-1 and beating these division rivals who don't have a chance of being in the same league as them with the caliber talent that the Eagles have on their team.
Right.
They should still be 8-0, and they should be winning these games a lot more decisively than what they currently are.
And to your point, in the game they lost, they were up 14-3, and they were up late in that game 14-12 with under 2 minutes to go before that third interception by Hurts hurt the Eagles and giving them that one loss they currently now have. And we would basically be saying this team has not really played up to par and they're undefeated. Okay, so between the Eagles and the Cowboys, who do you have in this game?
Even though we said what we said about, the actual Eagles and the way they're playing, I feel like they're going to beat the Cowboys here. The Cowboys are going to have their heads blown up a little bit too much by beating the Rams pretty decisively in the past week, being as close to the Super Bowl as they're going to get in the type of victory with what they had. I feel like the Eagles win. It's going to be a close one, but if the Eagles can do what they did against the Commanders, I feel they can do something very similar to the Cowboys.
Mike says it's going to be the Cowboys. He also says, look, but still, the Commanders lost to Fly Eagles Fly. Goodness gracious. I also picked the Eagles simply because I really believe that I think they have what it takes to neutralize Micah Parsons, and I think that's where it starts. And if you find a way to neutralize number 11, you're halfway home. And if you neutralize him, you neutralize basically the rest of that defense, and the Eagles have the ability to do that, and they don't have to play mistake-free football to achieve it. So I picked the Eagles there too. And that was the big NFC game. The big AFC game will be in Germany. That's right. Sunday, 9:30, all times Eastern that I'm mentioning, 9:30 a.m. kickoff in Frankfurt between the Dolphins and the Chiefs. The Chiefs actually gave up a home game for this. Both teams are 6-2. The Chiefs are favored by a safety. On the Dolphins side, they have had already the penchant for just stomping all over inferior competition. But when elite competition comes, they seem to wilt. So will the Dolphins step up their game against elite competition?
I feel like if the Broncos can do it, they can. So yes, they should be able to do it this week and I'm going to have to give the edge to the Dolphins in this game. I feel like they will.
Okay. All right.
It's time. It's time, Cole Johnson. It's time.
Okay, so on the other side. So can the Chiefs actually bounce back from the worst performance of the season this past Sunday against the Broncos?
I feel like it's going to hurt them a little bit. Unless they can get Taylor Swift in attendance, I feel like their actual weekend is not going to go the way that they would hope, because this Dolphins offense is electrifying. Literally, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's soul is inside of these players, and they are electrifying when it comes to this offense. Their defense is suspect at times, but overall, on both sides, they're playing pretty well for the most part. And if they can contain Travis Kelce, who is the spark of the offense and their leading receiver, if they can contain him like the Broncos did in this past game, and the Broncos did it, why can't the Miami Dolphins do it? I feel like when it comes to this Chiefs team, they are not going to be able to bounce back from this loss. They're going to have to take back-to-back losses into a very good team at the Dolphins to finally wake up for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So you think that loss to the Broncos will carry over, since you say the Dolphins are going to take this one? Actually, I think this is actually a game where I think the Dolphins can do that, because I think they can take advantage of the Chiefs, since this will not be an Arrowhead, since this will be overseas, and they'll have the speed, and the Chiefs does not have enough physicality to sort of circumvent what the Dolphins can do. Even though Mick says the Chiefs, I'm actually leaning Dolphins too. Not rooting for it. I just feel that too. And those are the featured attractions. We'll be back with the chopping block.
Next, the chopping block and snowflake of the week. This is Total Football Talk. Join Ryan McCarthy.
I became a Jets fan because Kermit the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I became a Jets fan.
And Dustin Henry.
ESPN is cashing all in on let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps,
as they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. On YouTube and where you can find all podcasts. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central. Football, and more football, you say? Well, tune in to Total Football Talk. Join your hosts, Drew Willingham.
You were playing like a dumpster Pelican quarterback.
And Cole Johnson.
It sets up for possible play action. Did you hear that, Dak Prescott?
As they take you through all the paces, both on the field and in the boardroom, of Total Football Talk. Every Tuesday.
That's right. Total Football Talk will be coming at you starting next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. Again, we'll be coming at you live Tuesday, November 7th and beyond, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. Watch on the Sotoba Media YouTube channel or the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel. That's Total Football Talk at its new time live. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Pacific on the Sotoba Media and the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channels. Back at it here on Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson. And so far, so good. I'm loving how this is going. Time to put something or someone on the chopping block. Deontay Johnson. Why? Okay. Sorry. So we talked about Jacksonville's end of the 20-10 butt whooping, or I should say the grind them out ugly game that they won against the Steelers. Well, let's talk about the other side. The Steelers seem to want to blame the refs because that is the sentiment of one wide receiver, Deontay Johnson, following that 20-10 loss in Acrisure Stadium Sunday. And he feels he has his fair share of reasons. He went on to say, quote, they were calling stupid stuff. They should get fined for calling terrible stuff. That's how pissed I am. I don't care what nobody says. They cost us the game. Close quote. Now, one of the things that he mentioned was the fact that there was a controversial call that came at halftime with a 55-yard field goal by the kicker of the Steelers, Chris Broswell, was taken off the board after Isaac Siamalo, the guard of the team, was penalized for lining up off sides. It would have been 9-6 going into intermission, but the 61-yard field goal that they attempted afterwards, after the penalty was marked off, sailed to the right. Now, my question to you, sir, is the following. I've been hearing so much with football fan talking about, well, it looks like the Chiefs are favored by the refs. And I actually heard Chiefs fan this past Sunday say, well, the refs cost us the game. Why is blaming referees the go-to excuse for losses with players and fans?
Because I feel like he wanted to blame a certain individual, but knew that it would go off better in the locker room if he just took the easy way out and blamed the refs. I feel like what he really wanted to blame is one person in particular, and that being Mitch Trubisky, who played like a dumpster pelican in this past game, throwing 2 interceptions. Yeah, he's probably the 14th one in the back, hiding underneath of that box of Stouffer's lasagna that's out there in that landfill. But when you look at how Mitch Trubisky played in that game, 138 passing yards, 15-27. Yeah, he threw a touchdown. But the 2 interceptions he threw were the decisive factor in why they lost by 10 points. Okay? So you should have taken that energy instead of ripping the refs. You should have done the right thing and rip Mitch Trubisky so he can stop wasting everyone's time thinking he's an NFL quarterback.
What? He, an NFL quarterback?
That's terrible.
Goodness gracious. Come on, guys. Fans of players are like, stop blaming referees for L's. Look, take the L. It was basically meaning that your team, the team you back or the team you play for, did not do enough to have the points be one more than your opponent. Take the L, no matter how it happened, and go on to the next week. Goodness gracious, y'all are getting absolutely snowflake-like with blaming referees on L's. Jeez.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
It's like Desmond Ridder will be giving the business to the head coach of the Falcons, Arthur Smith, possibly. Because in the change in Sunday's game, the 28-23 loss to the to the Titans, Desmond Ridder was taken out the game for concussion protocol measures, but it turned out that he was fine. He could have returned, but Smith said, hold up. No. Mr. Heineke will play in your stead. And they only managed 3 points with Ridder in the first half. The offense played much, much better under Heineke in the second half. Now, Arthur Smith, the head coach of the Vikings, the Falcons, said to The Athletic the following about the move. Quote, we just finished the game. Look, obviously we have a lot of confidence in Dez. I didn't take him out for performance issues. Taylor did his job. That's why he's here. And we have a lot of faith in Taylor. Close quote.
Let me talk to you.
Stop lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, sir. I didn't mean to derail. But your question is this. Will Arthur Smith start Taylor Heineke over Desmond Ridder due to the second half performance this past Sunday?
I don't think he will, but he should. Because of what you said, as far as they have faith in Dez and it wasn't, performance based. Unless it's a lingering issue from the injury, from the concussion or whatnot, then I feel like they go with Ridder again, which is a shame because I am one of those ones who were saying during the offseason that they should be starting Taylor Heineke for what he did while he was in Washington. I wish he was still there. If it wasn't for the emergence of Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke proved last year how great of a teammate he is and a great of a person by giving Sam Howell that opportunity in week 18 to start against the Cowboys while he was still with Washington. Right. Before that, with what he did during that run where he almost got the win over the then we would find out weeks later would be the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The only time that the Buccaneers came close to getting knocked out during that playoffs was when they faced a Taylor Heineke-led Washington football team at that time. So when I look at Taylor Heineke, what he's done, there have been a lot more second half turnovers by him than most quarterbacks who've started games in the league since 2020. I forget what the exact number is, but I know that he's either 1 or 2 in the stats for most turnovers between the third and fourth quarter, and especially when it's under 2 minutes. So for something like that, I can understand why he's not at the top of the radar for the 32 teams in the league to be a starting quarterback. But he proved it in this past weekend that you need to give him another look. And yes, he's there to do a certain job as a backup, but there's not many backup quarterbacks that can do as great of a job as what Taylor Heineke did. And I can't even say the same for Will Levis in this past week for Tennessee because he was drafted to not be a backup quarterback. He was drafted to be the quarterback of the future. So for that, I can't say backup quarterback coming off the bench and doing that. That's expected of him in the future. The reason why I gave him dog of the week is because he did it early on in his career during week 8 of his rookie season, throwing 4 touchdown passes. That's why I gave him dog of the week. But for him to do that type of stuff for his future for the next 15 to 18 years, that's expected of someone of Will Levis's caliber coming out of college. Taylor Heineke from Old Dominion didn't have that same hype, didn't have that all coming into the NFL draft. And then we all know what happened as a result of all that. So I feel like they should start Taylor Heineke. But will he start Taylor Heineke unless the situation calls for it based on injury protocol? We will see Desmond Ridder this next week there in Atlanta.
I agree. I think Ridder will continue onward, but we know that Mr. Ridder will be doing this now from now on.
Yep.
Because he'd be hearing them footsteps. Because Mr. Heineke, that dude can play his butt off. Ooh, that is scary.
He most certainly can.
Total football talk.
No, it's Halloween. It's not Christmas yet, but this is the time of the show where we award the snowflake of the week, the ones that basically just wilt under the pressure and melt in the heat. And with his snowflake of the week, we'll pass it on to Drew.
I know that we are supposed to pick snowflake of the week. But in this case, for one time only, we're going to have to put an S on the end of that for snowflakes of the week. And they come from the same team, Al, they come from the same team. A team that started out 1-5 on this season, that being the New York Giants, a team that is having some quarterback woes Currently, when you look at the fact that Daniel Jones is not in there with his injury, Tyrod Taylor comes in this game, goes 4 of 7 from 8 yards, and just when you think it can't get any worse, you have the third-string quarterback come in there. Oh, Tommy. But in this case, what Cole said earlier, and I agree, his name should be Tony, Little Tony's Pizza. Little Tony, the relative of Danny DeVito. Old Tony DeVito comes in there and does the following. Goes 2 of 7 for -1 yards. When you have the Giants quarterback play combining for 6 of 14 for 7 yards, you are the ones that get nominated for Snowflake of the Week. And that is my pick. The Giants quarterbacks are the Snowflakes of the Week.
Okay. All right. Well, I can see that. Well, all right. I'm going to stay on the same, saying the same game. I'm going to stay with the same team. But I'm not going to award this to a player. No. I'm going to award it to its coach. Brian Daboll, you have been needing this award for a minute now. You know, when you were getting upset in the Sunday night L that you took in Buffalo, especially when your team had a chance to push the ball in the end zone in a goal-to-goal situation, but you threw your headset down and your team was trying to actually do something with a backup quarterback in there, starting his first game of the season with the team. My thought then was, it's the saying in Remember the Titans when one player said to another, "Attitude reflects leadership, Captain." Well, the attitude of the Giants is reflecting the leadership. And it was that way last year when it was positive. It is that way this year going to the negative. So I look at this 2-6 record and I look at you, Mr. Daboll. You're supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. You're supposed to be the guy that knew how to make quarterbacks operate well. You were the guy that knew how to tinker with stuff and to basically turn crap into Shinola. I mean, that's what people were saying with Josh Allen when you were the offensive coordinator of the Bills. And that's what people were starting to say with you in leading Daniel Jones. And people were starting to call him Danny Dimes last year. And now people are starting to call him Danny Crimes this year because he's stealing money, as they say. Well, I don't think he's stealing money as much as you are, sir. You got to do better, sir. And don't be blaming your troops when attitude reflects leadership, sir. Do better, and your team will do better. And stop melting in the heat. That's not looking good for you, especially with that complexion you have. We'll be back.
The 2-minute drill is next. This is Total Football Talk. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets. Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool. Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crown they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can beat up black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific time zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel.
And down the stretch we come on Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham, or D. Willie. I am Cole Johnson. And now it is time to get with the best of the rest. Here is the 2-minute drill. For the teams that will not be playing for week 9, it will be the Broncos, the Lions, the 49ers, and the Jaguars. That's right. The teams on bye this week, the Jaguars, the Lions, the Broncos, and I know today football fan is going to be disappointed to not brag on the 49ers since they're on their 3-game losing streak, but they're on their bye. So again, the Broncos, Lions, 49ers, and Jaguars, they will be having a bye in week 9. And speaking of week 9, let's start with the Thursday night game. The Steelers hosting the Titans. Okay. The Steelers are 4-3. The Titans are 3-4. Kickoff is at 8:15 on Thursday. The first November game of 2023. Steelers are 2.5-point favorites. Who do you have in this game, sir?
If Will Levis starts and plays the way he did this past weekend, and if Mitch Trubisky is the quarterback for the Steelers, I have to give the edge to the Titans in this game. I feel the Titans are going to beat the Steelers pretty handedly.
Yeah. I think I'll put it this way. I'm rooting for the Steelers, obviously, for obvious reasons. I think the Titans will pull it out too. I think they're going to probably be buoyed by the performance from Will this past Sunday, and it's fresh on their mind. So I think they'll be ready to do it. I think they'll be ready to take this one and take it to the Steelers. Sunday, 1 p.m. kick. The Falcons at 4-4. They host the Vikings at 4-4. The Falcons are favored by 3.5. I don't think we have to ask who you have in this one, but I will anyway. Who do you have in this game?
For this one, I mean, the Falcons, unfortunately, when it comes to the situation with the Vikings, we still don't even know who the quarterback's going to be in Minnesota for this upcoming game. So for that being said, whether it's Ritter or Heineke, I feel like the Falcons take this one. Yeah,
I agree. I think the Falcons will take this as well. Kickoffs at 1 p.m. The Falcons are favored by 3.5. The Browns at 4-3. They host the 1-7 Cardinals. 1 p.m. kickoff in Northeastern Ohio. The Browns are favored by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Your thoughts on this game, and who do you have?
The Browns definitely will take this game. As much as the Cardinals have been close, especially in the past few games, I don't even feel they're going to be close in this one because they're going to be facing a really stellar defense, that being the Cleveland Browns defense. And who knows, they could potentially have an upgrade at the running back position by this game as well. So with that being said, regardless of what the defense does, I feel like the Browns have a really good chance of winning this game pretty decisively this weekend.
And don't be bashful joining along with us, as Mick is. With the Titans-Steelers game, he picks the Steelers. And I also picked the Browns. I don't see the Cardinals doing anything to upset the apple cart, so to speak, with the Browns. Another Sunday, 1 p.m. kickoff. The Rams travel again to the Midwest. They travel again to the Central Time Zone, this time in the Midwest, where they play on the possibly frozen tundra Lambeau Field to play the Packers at 2-5. The Rams, though, are the road favorites by 1.5. Your thoughts on this game? Who do you have?
I think for this potential game right here, we're going to see something that's going to be of this caliber. And with that being said, my choice for this game doesn't really matter because it's going to be But I'll have to say that I feel like the Rams are going to take this game, but it's going to be a very ugly win with this game being said.
I did not think that was going to take off the way it has, but I'm so glad it has. I'm so glad it has. Mick picks the Vikings in the Vikings Atlanta game. He also picks the Browns as well as us with the Cardinals and Browns. He goes with the Packers in this game. I'm going to go with the Packers too. For some reason, I don't know why the Rams just seem to not really play all that well in Lambeau. I don't know. It was that way with Goff. It was that way with Stafford, and it might be Stafford still. Who knows who's going to start for him? But yeah, I think it's going to be the Packers.
I just feel like once you got embarrassed by the Cowboys in this past week, if there's any shot of you not waking up to go on a run, but as far as waking up to produce the next game, it's this one against a 2-5 team.
I agree with you there. I do. I just color me not really having faith in the Rams. I think they can, but I just don't think they will here. Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. The Patriots are favored by only a single point. The 2-6 Patriots, they host the 3-5 D. Willie's Commanders. Who do you have in this game, sir?
As much as I hate to say it, I feel like the Patriots are going to win this game. And I was saving this take for this show today. The Commanders are 1-5 in their past 6 games. It's not looking good. And you're playing a team that's only slightly worse than you, but they've got something to prove, and they need this win over you more than you need the win over them at this point. I feel like the Patriots are going to win this game by a field goal.
And Mick actually picks the Commanders. I think I'm with you. I want to pick the Commanders. The Commanders are the better team. I just get the feeling it's going to be one of those games where it's like, well, people are going to be like, well, what is happening to the Commanders? They went to a place where they're playing a team that's worse than they are, but they didn't put forth the effort. I'm just getting the feeling we're going to be hearing that type of commentary about them. Something tells me that the organization along with the team on the field, it's a little shaky too. Not necessarily the ownership group, but I'm just talking about from the executive room on down, because they don't seem stable, and I think it's carrying it. I think it's carrying over. So I picked the Patriots, not because I hate the Commanders or hating on them. I just see them being shaky again, and I hope that's not the case. Another Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. The Saints in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome at 4-4. They host the Chicago Bears at 2-6. Heck, I don't care who's at quarterback. It could be Joe Montana going back to when he actually was 27 years of age. I picked the Saints. Who do you pick? Because the Saints are favored by 6.
I've got the Saints in this game as well too. Looking at the play by the Bears, there's nothing to get excited about here. And with what happened with the Saints this past weekend and Derek Carr stepping up, I have to give them the edge here. I feel like the Saints are going to take this win over the Bears.
Mick actually picks the Bears.
I think Mick is just trying to be a troll today, because Mick has been literally picking against us in several different things and has thrown so much shade on what he likes to spell it out as the Commanders. So when it comes to the Commanders and to your trollish-esque comments there, Mick, that's how I feel at this point. Pick legitimately and stop picking against us, because it's not going to favor for you well out here on these streams.
Commanders. I've been seeing it. I tried not to pay attention to it because I didn't want to just burst out in laughter. but I love it though. Oh Lord! And the last 1 p.m. Sunday kickoff, the Texans, who are favored by 2 at 3-4, they host the also 3-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One of your favorite quarterbacks is going to be starting here. Who do you have in this game?
Bunker Stayfield actually didn't play all that bad this past weekend, but the Texans did come back down to earth.
Agree.
I feel like even though the Texans are favored, and I know they're your team, I don't want to go against them. I have a feeling that Bunker's going to come to Houston and do what he does best, and that is upset in the moments when we don't see the upset coming. I feel like the Buccaneers win this game over the Texans by a touchdown.
Oh man, I want you. So well, looks like my man agrees with you. He says the Bucks. I actually want to lean in that direction in terms of I don't think this team is ready yet to actually have a game where it's almost a gimme win, and they have talent that is on par with their opponent, and they're at home and they can win. So I'm going to, of course, I'm going to root for the Texans. I'm going to pick the Texans. I will not, though, be surprised if the Buccaneers do pull this out, though. And I'm only doing it because I want to show that I actually have faith in this team. But what you said is 100% correct. It is. And I would not be surprised. And Baker Mayfield seems to love playing in Texas anyway. To the late kickoffs on Sunday, 4:05 p.m., the Colts, they will be traveling to Charlotte to play the Panthers at 1-6. The Colts are 3-5. The Colts are favored by 2.5. Who do you have in this game, sir?
Well, depending on what Uncle Rico does, if he is playing in this game and how he shows up or not. I mean, when you're playing the Panthers, the Panthers got upset by the Texans. The Texans, were upset by the Panthers in this past week.
Right.
So when I look at that and the fact that it could possibly happen again if you're not careful, even though we look at Uncle Rico and what he's done, I think there's a possibility the Panthers do it again and the Panthers win 2 games in a row. I'm going with the Panthers this weekend.
Okay. I can see that. I just think that they're going to go back to the losing ways. I'm going to pick the Colts, but I can see that logic, though. And the reason why I'm picking the Colts, that running game looks really good, and I think they can build off of that running game. And it looks like Mick also picks the Colts. And that's really the only reason why I'm picking them. I think their running game is back, and I think they can feed off of that. 4:25 kickoff between the Raiders, the host Raiders at 3-4, going up against the Giants at 2-6. The Raiders are favored by 3.5. And your pick is?
Unless the Giants find Elvis Gerback or somebody that can come in here and do a better job playing quarterback for them, and not Little Tony's Pizza, Tommy Barretto, Doretto, whatever his name is, DeVito. I don't know what his name is. Cousin of Danny, playing 2 of 7 for what? -1 yards? Okay. So, of course, Stuck in My Mind podcast is going to show back up in the comments on Comey Media and say, Giants, okay? Of course, you want that to happen. There's Stuck in My Mind podcast, Wise El Jefe, the 1-5 Giants coming into week 7. And yes, they got the win, but still, they're 1-5. Daniel Jones will play. I don't care. I don't care if he's going to play or not. Because in this game, the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 3-4, are going to make a move today within the next 2 hours. And they're going to help get Devontae Adams more than 1 catch for 11 yards. I don't know if it's going to be based on a quarterback move,
my gosh,
or a protection move, or a running back move. I'm going with the Raiders to get to 500 at 4-4 and save the crooked visor wearing McDaniel's job for 1 more week.
Oh my gosh. So yes, Wise was a huge Giants fan. He picks the Giants. Mick picks the Raiders. Yes, even with Daniel Jones playing, I still pick the Raiders because Man, the Giants have to do better than that. Oh, Wyatt says Josh McDaniels is going to mess it up.
Not as bad as what little Tony did this past weekend.
Not little Tony. I don't disagree with you there, Wise. I just think Brian Daboll will mess it up worse, like he did this past Sunday, where that game should have been theirs, and they took an L. That's inexcusable. I see them taking an L in Vegas. The Sunday night game, it would have been featured if it didn't have other really good stellar games. The Bengals are 4-3. They host the Bills at 5-3. Yes, this would be the first game between these two back in Cincy. Then I had played before, of course, but this would be the first game since that DeMar Hamlin unfortunate circumstance turned heart-wrenching, turned heartwarming story of his heart attack, his return, and now he's now on the field. And the two teams have bonded because of that event. 8:20 p.m. is the kickoff there in Cincy. The Bengals are favored by 1.5. And who do you have in this game, sir?
With this one, based on what they've done over the past 3 weeks, they're healthy now. I have to give it to the Bengals. The Bengals were not playing well for quite a while because they just weren't healthy. Joe Burrow was banged up, ever since the injury that he took in minicamp. Now they have finally gotten back to a place to where they're at 4-3, and they started the season off 1-3, and now won their past 3 games going against the Bills. And the Bills, with their record 5-3, they're 1 game above what the Bengals are doing because they haven't had a bye week yet. The Bengals have, and it came at the right time for them to rest up and get healthy at this point. I have to give it to the Bengals. It's time for Joe Cool to establish himself as a great quarterback, as he's shown flashes of at points. And it's time to get them back to the promised land and actually a Super Bowl at some point. And I feel like he will at some point in his career. And it's all starting to culminate in this season.
I also like the Bengals, and I also like them for the reason that you stated. That performance this past Sunday, I think, is one that could actually be a springboard for bigger things. And I think we'll start to see the team that we have witnessed last year and the year before come out more and more come November and December and January, because I really believe the Bengals are going to be a tough out for everybody involved in the conference. The Bills, they got to start getting their act together. That run game needs to be on point. Josh Allen needs to start running less. And you need to help their defense out with a stellar running game because of the way they perform offensively. The Bills put their defense in precarious positions far too often. And I think they will do the same Sunday night. I have the Bengals as well. The Mick says the Bills, and I can understand why, but I go Bengals. And we go to the Monday night game. The Chargers at 3-4. They travel to the Meadowlands to play the 4-3 Jets. Kickoff is at 8:15. The Chargers are the road favorites by 1.5. No, Aaron Rodgers isn't playing. I'm sorry. Your thoughts on this game, and who do you have?
I think this is going to be one fantastic game.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
And you can feel the sarcasm coming right on out. Before I even clicked that button, it was just like that. Sorry for those of you on Pro Sports Fans. I played Bishop Bullwinkle's Hell to the No, no. Because when it comes to this situation right here, this game is going to be an absolute dumpster fire, spearheaded by Dumpster Pelicans when it comes to the way this game is going to play out. When you look at the 3-4, oh yeah, there they are. They're the 9th one in the back. Oh, 9.5 one in the back. Underneath of that, box of Tony's Pizza that's half eaten. But when you look at all of this stuff right here, the Chargers 3-4, the Jets 4-3, flipping the coin between both of those records being different than what they are. The Chargers are favored at 1.5. And there's only been one other time throughout this projected list of games where I've gone the other way, and that was the Panthers. This one, I'm going to have to do the exact same thing, and I'm going to have to go with the Jets because of what they did this past weekend against the dumpster Pelican-esque team of the Giants, led by Little Tony's Pizza. Now, when I see this situation right here, and I see the Chargers, yes, they have shown flashes in those 3 wins that they are better than what their record portrays. But from what they've done in those 4 losses, to me, overshadows what they've done in those 3 wins. And the Jets have won some really tough games this year, led by Zachary Capono-Wilson. And I feel like they have an opportunity to do it again. And if they're going to have any shot of Aaron Rodgers coming back and actually coming back this season to a team that has a chance of still doing something, it has to continue this week against the Chargers as they get the win to improve to 5-3, that being the Jets.
Yeah, I agree with there. And I think it's going to be, as Mick said as well, Jets, Jets. I have the utmost faith in Brandon Staley.
What?
I mean, I really believe in him. I do.
What?
He is the greatest coach in all of the NFL.
What?
I mean, his knowledge knows.
Stop it. Get some help.
Okay, yes, fine. Yeah. Staley's going to mess it up again for the Chargers. That's why the Jets are going to win this game. Oh, my God.
Breaking news, Cole.
Okay.
Breaking news. Josh Dobbs was just traded from the Arizona Cardinals to the Minnesota Vikings.
Just joking. Wow. Okay. So Josh Dobbs is a Viking.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but that literally popped up on my screen as you were talking. So for those of you who are watching, that is breaking news. As it looks like Kyler Murray may be coming back this week if they're going to move Josh Dobbs that fast.
That's what it looks like. It looks like Kyler Murray's back. Kyler Murray's back. All right. I'm sorry, my bad. And that will conclude the 2-minute drill.
Total football talk.
Everybody, yeah. Call of Duty, yeah. We are in the post game. I'm so sorry, my unprofessionalism.
Stop it. Get some help.
Great timing. We come to the part of the show in the post game where we basically give the final thoughts and final word on the Week 8 festivities of the NFL. And to lead off his final thoughts, Drew.
All right, people.
Let me talk to you.
This has been one great episode 9 of Total Football Talk. Our first one on Pro Sports Fans, the app. Our 9th one on our collective YouTube channels, that being Comey Media and Sartoba Media, as well as the other platforms that we stream throughout our show. Thank you all who've been tuning in, regularly throughout this 3-hour show today and the weeks ahead that have gotten us to the point to where we continue to bring on new challenges each and every week, especially with the Pro Sports Fans. So thank you all for tuning in there as well. Another great week in football. As we saw, the breaking news, Josh Dobbs now traded from the Arizona Cardinals to the Vikings. Now, with that being said, he goes from a team that was literally a quarterback away from success to the Vikings, who are in a very similar situation. Look at what he did with the Cardinals, 1-7. So if anybody out there is getting excited about Josh Dobbs actually moving from the Cardinals to the Vikings, you got it all twisted, man, because he is not going to be able to do what was done by Kirk Cousins for this season to get them to the 4-4 record they're at now. I am not completely sold on this being a huge breaking event that we should be getting excited about Josh Dobbs going to Minnesota. Is he decent? with managing the game, yes. But at times when you don't need the turnovers to come, he's finding ways to make 1 to 2 to 3 turnovers happen in these games that have no business being as close as they are if it wasn't for the type of play that he's given them. Now, there's other it's wishy-washy. It's like one game he's up, the next game is down. He's not consistent. And that's probably why he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL, let alone was available to be signed 10 days before the season started. So when I weigh all these things and put them all together when it comes to Josh Dobbs, they've got a decent quarterback on their hands, that being in Minnesota. But when you look at all the options that were available, and I named him earlier, I didn't even name Josh Dobbs because I didn't think that the Cardinals would trade him at this point in the season, not knowing what you're going to get out of Kyler Murray. Like, you're throwing all your eggs in a basket with Kyler Murray coming back. And even if Kyler Murray wins the remaining 9 games of the season, they finish at 10-7, and that still sometimes isn't going to be good enough to get you into the playoffs. So with what they had as an insurance quarterback to at least get them through a game, if Kyler Murray shouldn't play the entire season and should be set to pretty much protect him for 2024, you just traded that away to Minnesota, and he was only 1-7 with the Cardinals, so you shouldn't be getting that much high hopes coming into Minnesota if you are a fan of that team and potentially a new fan of Josh Dobbs. With everything that's said, that is my concerning point that I have for my final take of the week. Thank you all for tuning into episode 9 on my behalf, and look forward to bringing you more coverage next week with episode 10 at an all-new time, 9 a.m. Eastern time to noon, and that will be going each and every week. Yes, 9 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Central, our new and permanent time for Tuesdays as we move this show forward with total football talk, and it wouldn't be possible without those of you in attendance viewing out there on those streams. I am Drew Willingham, and thank you as always for tuning in.
And speaking of breaking news as well, this one will hit close to home. Montez Sweat, the defensive end of the Commanders, is now going to the Bears. And he's going to the Bears for a 2024 second-round draft pick. The 27-year-old becomes the long-needed edge rusher the Bears defense is needed, that has compiled a NFL worst 10 sacks this season. So now Montez Sweat, who was, of course, one of the stalwart members of the Commanders defense, is no longer there. He now is in Chicago.
I don't agree with that move. I would have traded Young before I traded Sweat, because Young's had more history of being injury prone. I knew you needed to get rid of one of the two because you had one too many defensive ends, but at the same time, like, I don't necessarily agree with it. I feel like that might come back to bite him at some point. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. But then again, it might be what the teams were thinking. Well, they probably offered Young, and they probably like, nah, I don't think so. Sweat is probably more our speed. So I think it's probably what happened with that. But breaking news again, Montez Sweat is no longer a Commander. He is a Bear in exchange for a second-round draft pick in 2024's NFL draft. Now, my thoughts are not about the trade deadline. It's not about what has happened on the field per se. It's about what I witnessed last Tuesday leading into Sunday. And that was seeing, when I was doing, because I always do research on every total football talk show, and not want to see. And this past Tuesday, what I saw was, quote, the Oilers are back, close quote. The Oilers are back. The Oilers are back. That's what the Titans are saying. When I was studying the game between the Titans hosting the Falcons, it said the Oilers are back. Newsflash, the Oilers are gone. They have been gone since 1996. They're gone now. They'll always will be gone. So don't give me this crap about they're back when you put them in a place where they don't know what an Oiler is. They don't know why it exists. They don't have an idea as to why the colors of the uniform are Columbia blue, white, and scarlet. They probably would not even think of it that. They probably call it Carolina blue. They wouldn't know because they wouldn't understand it. They didn't grow up understanding the Oiler blue, like Ryman Theater and Grand Ole Opry. They understand those things because that's Nashville. And that's been Nashville passed off of generation to generation to generation. A local chain called Monell's, same thing. Passed from generation down to generation down to generation. Music Row, same thing. You all in Nashville know that, but you don't know the history of the Oilers because you didn't grow up with the history of the Oilers. The team that you know started here in 1999. Not in 1960, when that's where they were started. That's when they started in Houston. So the wonderful Hall of Famers and Oiler greats that you see that has adorned everything on the walls of Nissan Stadium, you don't know them except for Eddie George, Steve McNair, Frank Wycheck, and Bruce Matthews. That's probably the only ones you do know because they played in Nashville. Now, the others you don't know, like George Blanda, like Robert Brazil, like Elba Mathia, like Rob Carpenter, like Warren Moon, and Rod Childress. And you might have a clue as to Mike Munchak is because he actually was a coach for the Titans. You don't have a clue what all those players are. You barely have a clue as to what Warren Moon is because he makes his presence felt in Nashville. But you don't know them or Alan Pinkett or Alonzo Highsmith or
Earl Campbell.
I was getting to that.
My bad.
Or Gary Brown. And most certainly you do not know number 34, Earl Campbell. Now you probably hear it in having the comparisons to him and Derrick Henry. Like, he's going to pass the record of yardage with them. But the thing is, you weren't embodied with them. You weren't imbued with them. You didn't grow up with them. You didn't have everything that rose up and down with their expectations. So when I saw you put on the uniform of the Columbia blue, the white, the scarlet, when I saw the Oral Derrick at midfield at Nissan Stadium, when I saw the Oilers logo insignia stamped at each end zone, when I saw the Oral Derrick helmets strewn all over the wall, the base wall of Nissan Stadium's field, it sickened me to my stomach. And why it sickened me to my stomach? Because you had this display in front of fans that do not know about the lineage of that uniform, of that helmet, of that Oral Derrick. And then on top of it, you now have, when the city that can appreciate it, with the U of H wanting to copy that uniform, you have the Shield slapping a suit saying cease and desist. This is directed to you, Shield. Get those uniforms out of Nashville. Bring them back to Houston. Take Oilers stuff. Take it from the Titans. Bring them back to Houston. The deal you struck with the Browns when Art Modell moved into Baltimore. And you said, nope, you can move to Baltimore, but you're not going to take the Browns with you. You should have struck the same deal with K.S. Adams, that dummy, in saying, okay, you can move. Your fat butt and your oil salesman money can move, but the Oilers can't. That stays in Houston because it belongs there. Well, you now know that it's about money because it sucks seeing the team that I rooted for the most will always now be the team that I will always root hardest against for the rest of my life. My childhood team, the team that when I got up in the mornings and got up every Sunday in the fall and rooted to see the Columbia Blue and the White, the Scarlet rule the football world. Now I want to see them be crushed by it. And it's a shame it didn't have to be that way, but that is how you made it. And it's unfortunate. And I know you're probably saying,
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
that's a bull-faced lie. Because those of us who are Oilers fans do care. And unfortunately, that would be directed back to Amy Adams Shrunk and those in the Titans organization and the NFL, because it is you all who do not care. But you need to, because unfortunately, the Oiler brand does not belong in Nashville. Never has, doesn't now, it never will. It belongs in Houston.
As long as it's one. Oh, that's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
And before we roll out,
Mhm.
I want to wish everyone out there a safe holiday tonight. This is Halloween. Safe taking your kids out there or whatever you're doing on this holiday. We got one last day of October, that being Halloween. Tomorrow starts an all new month, but it also starts a celebration of something that we can celebrate all month long. People within the NFL celebrate, people within out here in these streets celebrate, and that is something that I'm going to celebrate again this year, and that is No Shave November. So for those of you out there who want to get ready to rock and roll with me, my face is freshly shaved and clean today, ready to participate. No Shave November starts tomorrow. In the words of Jerry Maguire, who's coming with me? Cole, are you coming with me? Who's coming with me for No Shave November? It starts tomorrow, November 1st.
That's terrible.
I'm sorry. It was just begging me to say that. It was just begging me to say that.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
Before we go, Wise basically saying that he believes that the Cardinals are tanking. I could see that. To the announcement of Montez Sweat being a Bear, Six says Drew's reaction says it all, which it does. And Mick says no one cares, Drew. Man, Mike is just cold.
That's terrible.
Kane of the Eagles Elite podcast, he says, Cole Sports with a Z. Thank you. And D. Willie.
Come back to that. It sounds like when you read it, put his first comment back up there. I want to read how it Cole Sports with us. That's what it looks like when I'm reading it right now because of the X's in it. Shout out to Cool McCain.
Oh my gosh. Why says my man Cool Breeze? Oh Lord. Return of the I cannot do that sound.
Return of the yeah, that's basically how that episode goes.
Oh my gosh.
Go back and watch episode 2 of D. Willie in the evening.
Okay, good Lord. Besides celebrating No Shave November, is that being a huge holiday? Goodness gracious. Is there anything else that you have for the Total Football Talk audience before we do let them go?
Hey, just as I said in the original incarnation of the post game, thank you as always, guys, for tuning in. Bringing the shenanigans along with coverage of NFL football is definitely a fun thing that I love doing each and every Tuesday with Cole. And now starting at our new official time next week, 9 a.m. Eastern time, as we talked about earlier. Again, 9 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Central time. This all wouldn't be possible without you guys. We keep doing this each and every week for your entertainment, for our, podcasting therapy as well, because this is just as good for us doing this together as it is for those of you out there watching and enjoying it as well. Couldn't do it with anybody else for this amount of time for 3 hours, over 3 hours with anybody other than Cole. There's people I can do it with 2 hours with, but Within that time frame, it feels like 2 hours.
Mhm.
Even today, with everything, it does not
Mm-hmm.
feel like we've sat here for 3 hours. It will when I get up from this chair. But right now, me and you in sync talking about stuff has been great. I love it and look forward to next episode, that being episode 10 next Tuesday.
The feeling is 100% mutual, sir. But yes, starting November 7th, which is next Tuesday, Total Football Talk will begin live 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. That's right, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central every Tuesday, starting November 7th, which is next Tuesday, and beyond. And if you want to catch Drew on the social media streets, all you have to do is go to Instagram at sotoba.media. Underscore media. Sotoba underscore media on Twitter. Sotoba media at Sotoba media on TikTok and other places as well. And if you want to find me, you can go to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. That's flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson.
I got to get on that. I say that every episode. But I got to get on that.
Yeah, it does make life a little easier. Well, thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting as well. And thank you for hitting that notification bell so you can catch any and all content that emanates from the Sir Toba Media YouTube channel, where the struggle is real to be awesome, or the Kobe Media YouTube channel, creating content magic in the real world. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as we always do. In life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always remember, you got to play until the whistle blows. So long, everybody.